To the sisters, Yahweh Shema Thumba Shem Yahweh Shai. For those that don't know the Hebrew, what I just said, the Lord in the name of Christ bless you. To the brothers, the Lord watch over you in the name of Christ. To the sisters, I'd like to thank y'all for thinking more of this lecture than the Super Bowl. I'd like to thank y'all for that. Y'all think about the time that we in today, Cam Newton's a faggot too.
That's right.
All right? He's a faggot. We're going to show that too. And there's going to be some words, I know camp protocol, we don't use the word faggot on the street because it's damn near illegal. But in here it needs to be said so that people can see the power behind how that gay agenda is the attack of black people. So we're going to get into a couple of the slides. Play that first video for me. Sorry, before you play the video, normally we would have a reader. But I got so much information I'm trying to squeeze in 90 minutes. It's 90 minutes because I want to take the last 30 minutes for if anybody got any questions that they want to ask. All right, so I'll be going over the scriptures. This is not normal protocol, but it's only due to the amount of information that we want to get out, all right? So now this says Revelation 11:8, it says their dead bodies shall lie in the street of that great city, which is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt. Now why is that synonymous with today? The dead bodies is all the blacks and Hispanics that you see killed every day. In Chicago alone, how many bodies in the month of January?
51.
51 dead in January in Chicago. When you think about the cops that's constantly killing and oppressing black people, those are the dead bodies. That's why it says spiritually Sodom and Egypt. What is Sodom synonymous for? Even when they use the term sodomize, comes from the city of Sodom that was full of all the homosexuality, full of all the raping, full of all the men that did not want to sleep with the two daughters. When Lot wanted to offer up the daughters, you would think you would rather have a box than behind.
Right.
But they were so full of lust of demonic spirits that they chose that instead. The Egypt part is, of course, because this land is our captivity today, the same way Egypt was our captivity back then. Which is why, out of all of the philosophies black people want to follow, what makes the Bible trump them all, specifically with this topic, is anybody that says they're against homosexuality and is not an Israelite, it's your personal opinion.
Right.
You know what I mean by that? When I say that I'm against homosexuality, in the scriptures, the power that I serve says that mankind shall not lie with mankind. You ain't gonna find that law in no other ideology whatsoever. You ain't gonna find it in Kemet. That's some shit you gotta die and talk to some dog and then tell them you didn't do it. Now they say we spooky. How spooky is that shit? You ain't gonna find it in Islam. You ain't gonna find it in Buddhism, Hinduism, or any type of ism you can find. But in that Bible is the only blueprint for black people to get their self together. And that's what we have to follow. Play the clip for me, please.
Neely Fuller, who wrote the...
Now this is Sister Frances Westling, I believe.
A
good sister, and this is what she said.
Late mid-70s, he used to say in the system, because he was the first person to talk about racism as a system.
This is something that was said in the 70s.
And he said that as the system of racism, white supremacy moves on, the system is going to have black men wearing dresses. Now, to hear that in the 70s, people said, oh, this is way out. And here we are. You see, there's some black pediatricians who are saying we are developing epidemic levels of the effeminization of young black males. Well, I say the pants sagging down is just subconscious invitation for homosexuality. You see, it's revealing the buttocks. See, so the pants are getting lower and lower and lower. The next step is to step out of the pants altogether. And so you step out of the pants, you're going to put on a dress. The effeminization is an essential ingredient of white genetic survival, and the only thing that can prevent it is black people becoming conscious.
The consciousness, the only thing she's missing is the Bible, because that's the only consciousness that's going to actually fix us.
Destroyed, then the black people are gone, and we have the state of genocide.
Let me tell you something. What that sister said was very powerful, because the scriptures say, how can anyone enter a strong man's house unless he first bind up the strong man? The strong man is all of y'all out here today. Right. Those soldiers out there on the corners, although they wicked as hell, that's what we was before. And then that's what we have to turn around and be that strong man to take that black household back. Because the white man is a natural homosexual. I'm going to read a couple of statistics for y'all. It says approximately 3.7% of all African Americans identify with the lesbian and gay agenda. Now, that may seem like a low number if we was talking about 100% of the population, but black people only make up 12% of the population. So that's more than a quarter of black people that are gay or lesbian, period. That's why we're destroyed. And it's on purpose, because the problem with civil rights movements, like Martin Luther King, I call him Orgy Mike. Anybody watch the radio show? No, we call him Orgy Mike around here because he was a homosexual too. And civil rights leaders, even Malcolm to an extent, because when Malcolm came back from Mecca, what did he say? Now, I don't agree with Islam either, but he said he was drinking with white people. And when you start joining anything to white people are only about the eradication of black people. And I'm going to show you the history of the whole breaking the buck and all of that we're going to get into next. And it's by design. Like the scriptures say, if a man rob a house, wouldn't he leave some grace? Wouldn't he leave something behind? Whereas the white man has robbed and raped black people to no end, you think at some point he would leave us alone or give us something where we can get back. Like he gave every other nation a chance. When he bombed the Arabs, he gave them something back. When he bombed the Chinese, he gave them something back. We're the only people he's never given nothing back. Now it says 84,000 African Americans live in same-sex couples, and roughly a third of these are raising children. So what does that paradigm represent? If you got the homosexual being allowed to raise kids, more than likely, what are they going to do? Come up as homosexuals, because they're not going to see anything wrong with them. It's just like a child being brought up by drug-dealing parents. That child that's brought up in gang violence. To them, there's nothing wrong with gang violence because that's all they've seen and all they've known. And that's the agenda here. Then it says black individuals who identify themselves disproportionately young and disproportionately female. Why is that so heavy with them being young? Because when you think about the 70s and 80s, a faggot couldn't walk down the street like they do today. Like when we walk down 125th Street, if I'm doing some interviews or we got camp or something like that, all you see is what they call metrosexuals. It's a shame the amount of skinny jean Negroes walking down the street that you see. But you couldn't see that before. But why are they so young now? Because they take the young entertainers and they use the entertainment to fool you into thinking that it's okay. Because when you get a visual acceptance, you'll accept it out there. And I'll show you that concept as well. And then it also says 58% of them are women. Because this lecture is not pro-man or woman. This lecture is pro-black people. This is not a lecture where we only talking about the feminization of men and then excluding the women, because this is an attack for black men and women. Of course, y'all know when I say black, I'm always talking about all 12 tribes. I'm light-skinned. You know what I mean? You got some Colombians darker than me. So I'm talking about all 12 tribes of Israel. And the problem that the white man uses for black men and women too is to have us at odds. You know what I mean? To have it be a competition like who's better, the black man or black woman. Why can't we just be united and then get rid of the real enemy, which is the white man, that causes that divide between us, all right? Then it says, Proverbs 14 and 12 says, there is a way, you can go to the next slide, there is a way that seemeth right unto a man. That way is thinking that it's okay to be gay, not because we actually believe that it's gay, but it's because who we decide to be leaders of black people, they set the tone for being gay. Like when y'all watch that video in the beginning, if I could say this too, this is one of the hardest things I've had to do in my life, this lecture. And what I mean by that is, I had to, and Kadazar, I have to say Kadazar too. I want to give Kadazar a hand if y'all could, Officer Kadazar, because that brother had to suffer. That ain't a good hand clap. That brother had to suffer right along with me, because we had to watch some of the nastiest you can think of, trying to get all the information, the best information that we could find to bring to the forefront, where just today he said, I can't wait till today is over so that we can put this to the back. Now technically we can't, because we can't let this lecture be the end, but just the amount of research we had to look up. You know what I mean? So now it says there's a way that seemeth right, because you have these leaders, like y'all saw the video with Shaq. Shaq's 7 foot tall with a goddamn wig singing Beyonce. Now imagine the people that look up to that. Kevin Hart, who said he wasn't going to put no dress on, not only did he put a dress, he was playing a little girl, not an old girl. He was playing a little girl. So now all the people that look up to them says, well, if Kevin said it's okay, then it must be okay. Give me the next slide. Now, here's another thing too, right? A lot of people, y'all know the word phobia, which it says by definition, it says an extreme or irrational fear of something. So a lot of people, when they say, I ain't homophobia because I'm not afraid of it, I'm going to show you what the white man does with definitions to be pro-gay, or to make gay stand out for the most. As y'all look at this, it says phobia by definition is an extreme irrational fear or aversion to something. An example is arachnophobia, to have an extreme irrational fear of spiders. But when it comes to homophobia, homophobia by definition, by the white man's definition, should be having a fear of gays. That's what it's supposed to be. Which is why it would be wrong for us to call homophobia. But what the white man does is, when you come to homophobia, instead of it being a fear, it's a dislike or prejudice against homosexual people. Which shows you the white man twists definitions to push his agenda. So the minute you say, well, I don't agree with homosexuals, or I don't agree with faggots or lesbians, anything like that, they say, oh, you're homophobic. That means you hate them. Why does it have to be I hate them? Like in American society, if the white man wants to be a faggot, let him be a faggot. But my people cannot. And now, you can't call me homophobia for that. Because if I didn't like murderers, the white man is a murderer too. I don't want my people to be a murderer. So you're going to call me a murderphobic as well? We got to get past the psyche of simply battling the word homophobia by saying I'm not afraid. Because that's not what they use with the definition. Go to the next slide. Now, they also say that homosexuality is a mental disease. According to the Psychiatric Association, until 1974, it was classified as a mental illness. Like, being a faggot is not natural. I don't care what nobody says. And when you do the research on homosexuality, I've done it all. 90% of all homosexuals, whether they're women or men, were molested. And let me tell you why it's only 90%. Really, it should be 100. And the reason why it's only 90 is because most people that are homosexuals don't want to face that they were molested. That's why. So they would rather lie and say I wasn't, I just chose this lifestyle. Or they'd rather lie and say I was born this way when they was not born that way. Nobody is born that way. And let's say, for the sake of argument, if someone tried to say that you are born that way. When kids are born, they steal too, right? Anybody ever stole something when you was a kid? You don't look at it as a stealing. You see a cookie, you just take it. Or you see a toy, you just take it. Now, as a parent, do you say, ha ha ha, let them steal a cookie? Or do you stop them from stealing a cookie? Do you teach them what's right from wrong? When it comes to being homosexuals, it's like they let that slide. You see your son in a dress. Now, if I see my son in a dress, I'm going to beat him. Now, but most people laugh, oh, look at him, he's trying to be like his mother. And then when you encourage that philosophy, what are you teaching him? That it's okay. So the responsibility falls on the parents. The responsibility falls on who we decide to let be our leaders. And if a leader is doing something that's against God, he is not a leader for black people. Everybody with me? Now it says, the DSM listed homosexuality as abnormal behavior under the sexual deviation section. That's where it was first listed. To violate a man's behind, or even to molest a child, that's a sexual deviant. You know what I mean? I was going to put GMS in here, but they just not big enough. But they sexual deviants too. Now it says, there was little or no suggestion within the psychiatric community that homosexual might be conceptualized as anything other than a mental illness. Now what do you do in any other type of, if you got Down syndrome or something like that, you treat it as a mental illness. So you seek to get them counseling or seek to get them help. So that's what they're saying homosexuals need. They need counseling or they need help, and really, they just have to face the traumatization that they had as a kid. When you look at it, when we get into like Jason Collins and stuff like that, for example, if anybody paid attention to his story, he said he knew he was born that way because his uncle would take him on trips. That's how he knew he was born that way. You know what his uncle was doing when he took him on a trip? He was molesting him. He wasn't born that way. His uncle was just banging him in his behind. So now he feels I was born this way. Otherwise, why would my uncle do it? Instead of thinking that my uncle was wrong for what he did. You know how they say a children should be seen and not heard? We have to kill that notion that a children should not. We should not teach our kids that they should be seen and not heard, because what you're doing is telling them, if something happens to me, I can't tell you about it. Because you're telling me I should be seen and not heard. You should let them children. I tell my daughter, if anybody touches you and tell you to sit on their lap or some nonsense like that, then you have to come and tell me so I can understand why Uncle Johnny or whatever want them to sit on your lap. If anybody ever seen Chris Rock do that stand-up, at one point, he said, everybody got that Uncle Johnny where you didn't want your kids around him. And then if Johnny molested the kids, they used to get mad at the kid. Like, what you doing hanging around Johnny? Don't nobody kill Johnny, though. Don't nobody go beat Johnny up for molesting that child and then damaging that child for the rest of his life. And that's what we have to fight. Now, it says, homosexuality was listed as a mental illness along with other disorders. It says, what's noteworthy about this removal of homosexuality from the list of mental illness, it was not triggered by a scientific breakthrough. Like, none of these things, like even gays being allowed to be married wasn't triggered by a scientific breakthrough. Gays being allowed to be married was once they put that black face in office, he said gays can be married now. And we'll show that also. Now, it says there was no new fact or set of evidence that stimulated this major change. Rather, the simple reality that gay people started the kick of a fuss, meaning gay people started to riot. They started to fight and say we needed rights. Give me the next slide, please. We'll give a little history on this. Now, it says in chapter 4, homosexuality and the American Psychiatric Association, Dr. Bayer says that the first attack homosexual activists did in the APA began in 1970 when this organization held this convention in San Francisco. Like, they like to push like gays are love and nice and warm, but gays are some of the most violent people on the face of the planet. That black woman, that basketball player Griner, she got married to that ball player, a woman ball player. Domestic violence started from the rip. And here's the sad part, we're gonna pull that out too. I know I'm all over the place. We're gonna pull that out too, where they charging her with having to pay child support and having to take a damn DNA test to prove the father of 2 women. 2 women. We're gonna pull the article. 2 women. That's like Isaiah 29:16 says, surely your turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as the potter's clay. That's what the white man has literally done in America, was turn the structure. Like that Bible, when we follow those laws, statutes, commandments, we would never be in this condition. The reason why we're in this condition because we broke them laws. And we wouldn't be under the oppression of this bastard that can tell us that 2 women got to go take a paternity test to see who's the father of the child. We're going to pull up that article in a little bit, man. It says homosexual activists decided to disrupt by interrupting speakers and shouting down and ridiculing psychiatrists. This is how they got it legalized. What they did was be violent, which we're going to read. It says, in 1971, homosexual activist Frank Kameny. Now, Frank Kameny is one of the first white boys that actually tried to run for Senate in D.C. in the 70s. If you do the history, but when they had it as a mental illness, they actually kicked him off the astronaut program because he was a homosexual. And he didn't like that. So he started a campaign to push for that mental stigma to be taken off. So in 1971, Frank Kameny worked with the Gay Liberation Front Collective to demonstrate. And this is what he said. At the conference, Kameny grabbed the microphone and yelled that psychiatry is the enemy incarnate. You understand what that means? Like, y'all know how we say the white man is the goddamn devil, which he is? That's what he's saying psychiatry is. He says psychiatry has waged a relentless war of extermination against us. You may take this as a declaration of war against you. Now, and I'm going to tell you how you know the agenda is for them to do it. In America, a man can't have more than 1 woman, right? Does that apply to ISUBK?
No.
Thank you. Now, do we go riot and tear down some convention or go run to the American government to do it? Because we don't care. We're going to do what we want to do anyway. Now, the only reason they would want to make this is because their agenda is to turn the earth into a land of homosexuals.
That's right.
Because in their mind, the woman is only used for children making. If you want to have pleasure, that's what you get a boy for. That's what their mind is. We're going to get a little bit more history. Give me the next slide, please. Homosexuals forged, this is another thing, they forged the APA credentials and gained access to exhibit areas in the conference and threatened anyone who claimed that homosexuals needed to be cured. So what they basically doing is, don't cure me, don't fix me. I love being a faggot. I love being a homo. Don't cure me. And they forged the records. This is why we call the white man the devil. The word devil just means deceiver. It said Kameny found many allies inside the APA, aka payoff, which is what they always do. It says a man by the name of Kent Robinson will help the homosexual activists present his demand that it be removed from the DSM. In 1972 convention, homosexual activists were permitted to set up display booths entitled Gay, Proud, and Healthy. How are you gay and healthy when being a homosexual is a blood disease? Who's number one in AIDS? Black folk. That's how you know that you cannot be healthy and be a homosexual. That butt wasn't meant for that. Give me the next slide. Slide. I'm sorry about that. Now, this is what homosexuality leads to. Now people can classify themselves as heterosexual, homosexual, asexual, metrosexual. There are endless sexual orientations. That lamb that the white man like to sleep with, or that cow, he gonna bring little Betsy to the court system and say, I want to marry my cow. Because that's what homosexuality allows you to do. And the white man, which is a beast, anything got a hole in it, the white man want to put something in there because he's a natural beast. So now it says, in the 5th edition of the Diagnostic Statistical of Mental, or DSM, I'll just say that for short, it says the Psychological Association drew a very distinct line. Now, even in what I'm going to read will show you how it's the same thing. They're just trying to make it seem like one is better than the other. They said that they made a distinct line between pedophilia and pedophilic disorder. Pedophilia refers to a sexual orientation or profession of sexual preference devoid of consummation, whereas pedophilic disorder is defined as a compulsion is used in reference to individuals who act on their sexuality. Now, who sees the difference in those two? Is there a difference? No. Both, whether you call yourself a pedophilia or pedophilic, it's all the same thing, lusting for little children. No matter what type of classification you do it, but this is their way of trying to squeeze in being a pedophile and making it legal. I'm gonna keep going. It says APA's decision has given rise to numerous pedophilia advocacy groups, the chief of them being the Before You Act group. The Before You Act group is an organization that actively pursues and pushes for them to have the right to deal with little children. Right? Now I'm going to tell you one of their spokespersons. It says, it's an organization based in Maryland, created in 2003, primarily as a means for minor attracted persons to be open about their sexual preferences. Meaning to just be open, walking down the street and see your daughter, and she could be 7, but because he has this desire, he should be able to talk to her in the open. To see your son and be able to talk to him in the open. This is what they're pushing for in this society. That's why America has to burn. It says, I'm sorry, now I'm gonna show you something real heavy. It says, according to a spokesperson and registered sex offender, Paul Cristiano. Anybody catch that? It says, according to spokesperson and registered sex offender, Paul Cristiano. This is a registered sex offender. Now, brother gets caught stealing a book bag, he dies or commits suicide when he get out of Rikers Island. They just had the story where they lock a brother up for a book bag that he did not even steal. And then when he got out of jail, he killed himself. You sell 1 vial of crack, 1 vial of marijuana, a bag of marijuana, you can get 1 to 2 years. You come out, you can never get a job. But when you molest little kids, you're going to be the spokesperson. An open registered sex offender and spokesperson in America. And y'all wonder why we got to have this lecture. Why this lecture is very important. Now it says that the pedophilia advocacy group is working towards destigmatizing the mental health community. Meaning making you less immune. To be immune to something, meaning when something comes to you, you can fight it right off. What they're trying to do is de-immunize. Like, I'll give an example. Y'all see all the gun violence that takes place? You know why? Because in the movies, it's so much gun violence, we're immune to it. So that's the same thing. All of these shows that you see, like Empire, even The Wire, which we're going to get into, all of that is to make you less immune when you see gay stuff. When you see 2 men walking down the street, it's to let you think that it's normal. I have not gotten used to that yet. Even before I came into the truth, my mama and them would never talk about homosexuality around me because I was always against it. Because there's some moral compass that blacks and Hispanics have to carry in this place. Give me the next slide. Now, this video here, I want y'all to pay. Now, remember we talked about pedophilia. Now, this is probably the only portion that is going to be some vulgar words said in it. And I need this to be played. Yeah. It's kids. Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm not going to play the video. No, I won't even play it. It's all right, because I don't want to offend the children in here. I'll talk about this video. Is anybody familiar with these two women right here? Just raise your hand. Y'all not familiar with this? In this video, this is a mother and daughter. I'm going to just slide over here for a second. This is a mother and daughter, and they openly sleep with each other and talk about it on YouTube. And they're in Kemet. Salaki. They are signed. They say they in Kemet, and that you can do this in Kemet and all of that. Salakia. But anyway, now the reason why I brought this video out is because a lot of people look at this and of course it's disgusting. But nobody cares about this one here. And I'm going to tell you what I mean. I can't play the video, but in this video, this woman says how she tries to fight her mother, but her mother is too strong. And then in another part of the video, when she talks about her mother wrong, her mother literally drags her on the side and she's kicking and screaming, but she can't fight against her mother. Now when she grow up, that cycle's not going to stop, because she then says, I'm my mother's property. So if she wants to sleep with me, she can do whatever it is that she can. This is what grows up in our communities. Nobody cares about the children. Does anybody know about that story in Brooklyn where them 5 boys raped that little girl? Anybody know about that story, right? Anybody heard about that story in about 2 weeks? Nope. You ain't heard nothing about it. And even when they talked about that story, you know what the battle was? Did the boys do it consensually? Or did the father leave his daughter, or did the father comply with it? That's what the issue was. Nobody said these are rapists destroying this little girl, and this girl is never going to recover. Nobody ever cares about the children and what actually happens to them after this event. So now 20 years from now, when you see that girl in the strip club, you're going to look at her as a whore or a slut. That's right. Nobody's going to look at her history and say, who cared for her? Because that's her father. Just like this is her mother, that was her father that left her around 5 demons to sexually assault her. So her thought is only survival. So even if they say she agreed to it, she didn't want to die. She knew what would happen if she said no, which is why she did it. That's why I have this in here, because when you watch her face, if the next time y'all watch this video, look at her face when she's talking, and you can see the pain in her face. She did not want this for her life. But because nobody speaks up for children, because nobody speaks out against the homo agenda, this cycle will continue. Because she'll end up doing the same exact thing. That's why these lectures are so important and why we got to keep doing it. Next slide. Now, they also like to say born that way. I don't believe nobody is born that way, period. I don't believe people are born murderers, thieves, except the white man. No, I'm sorry. But I don't believe nobody is born that way. Now it says Richard B. Gardner, PhD, and founder director of sexual abuse program at the William Institute, wrote in his 2011 article talking about sexually abused boys and the men that they become. Because basically, what a sexually abused boy becomes, he becomes an abuser himself because he thinks it's normal, or, which we're going to read, he hates himself for what he became. That's why they think they're born that way. Because it's like a tragic event happened to you, and you say, sometimes the only way you can deal with it is to say, I was supposed to be this way. That's the only way you think that you can deal with it. It says, finally, when the abuser is male and even sometimes female, because females do abuse little boys too and turn them out. You look at R. Kelly, for example. R. Kelly came out in an article, and this ain't in no defense of R. Kelly at all, but he came out in an article where he said he was molested by a woman for years upon years. I think that's why he pee on them girls, because he really taking it out on those children, what he wished he could do to the other person. And that's what a lot of these boys, these men that molest, they're doing the exact same thing. So it says, finally, when the abuser is male, many boys develop fears and concerns about sexual orientation, because when you have, and when I'm saying boys, it's the women too. And women is a little harsher, because women, it's a molestation if it's by a man too, or a woman. And that destroys them. Them little girls that's getting raped at 6 years old, that's why they become lesbians, as a defense mechanism. And again, I'm not excusing the behavior, but we got to get to the root of the problem. And that's the root of the problem. It says, they develop fears and concerns about sexual orientation. A boy is likely to doubt himself wondering why he was chosen by a man for sex, which is what also happens, because they say, well, what was it that was in me that made this man molest me? Instead of just saying this man was just an evil bastard, this man was a sexual deviant, he had demons on him, they start saying, well, it must have been something wrong with me. No different than a woman that gets abused by a man. They think they start blaming themselves to excuse the behavior of the man. And so that's what the children start doing, blaming themselves instead of accusing the man. Then it says a homosexual boy may feel rushed into considering himself gay or may hate his homosexuality because he believes it was caused by abuse. You can give me the next slide. That's how you, like, that whole born that way is nonsense. You're not. You get turned into a predator because a predator predatorized you. And as long as we allow homosexuality to proliferate, and if we don't stop it, we'll have nothing but a bunch of gay men out here, except in the Israelite school, UPK. That's it. Y'all want to be straight? Y'all come down to school. You'll never have to worry. Give me, we're going to go through a brief history of the white man's homosexual deviancy. It says the most widespread and socially significant form of same-sex relations was in ancient Greece. And it was between adult men and pubescent or adolescent boys known as pederasty or boy love. This is why the white man fits perfect in that Roman Catholic Church, which I know we'll get into further down. It said it was the duty of the adult man to court the boy, strike his fancy, and it was viewed as socially appropriate for the younger man to withhold for a while, meaning for the young man to play hard to get. Like, you know, if you hollering at a sister and she play hard to get, this is what the white man viewed as courting. But he courting a boy. That's why they don't see nothing wrong with it today. It says, for a while before capitulating to his mentor's desires, this waiting period allowed the boy to ensure that his suitor was not merely interested in him for sexual purposes. What other reason would they be interested in him for? When you go in that Roman Catholic church with them choir boys, that's what they in there for. And when you go into that Christian church, that's what they in there for. I don't know. I don't have to tell y'all. There's tons of horror stories out of that Christian church of all the child molestation that comes out. The most popular one being Eddie Long recently, a couple years ago. Now here's the problem even with that. When Eddie Long was caught molesting them boys, just like that girl in Brooklyn nobody cared about, nobody cared about them boys. All they heard Eddie Long say was, I didn't throw one stone back or some nonsense like that. But nobody said, well, what about them boys? Nobody cared when that boy committed suicide. They allowed Eddie Long to still teach in the church when he should be thrown out of the church. But nobody says anything about it, all right? Then it says the age limit for pedastry in ancient Greece seems to encompass at the minimum in the boys of 12 years old. So what they're saying on the premise is to get that little boy, it had to be at least 12 years of age or younger. It says a lover boy below the age of 12 was considered inappropriate, but there was no evidence that exists of any legal penalties. So it's damn near like an unspoken thing, like you ain't supposed to get a 12-year-old, but if you do, ain't nobody gonna say nothing to you. This is where it starts. Like, this is a white man's culture to be homosexual. This is not a black man's culture to be homosexual. It's a black man's culture to be with a black woman or women, however you want to word it. In the military, in the white man's military, because you know in the military, I'm going to read this first and then I'll talk about it a little bit. It says in the military, the sacred band of thieves, a separate military unit reserved for men and their beloved. That's what this band was for. Because what they believed is that they would fight harder if their boyfriend was with them. So they would be in twos and they would be fun boys. And they feel that they will fight harder because they don't want their lover to die. That's the white man's thought process. You know who used that? Hitler. The Germans, them Nazis, they was homosexuals too. But they looked at it like they wasn't homosexual. They looked at it as man love is how they looked at it. And that's how they looked at it here. Which is why they had the don't ask, don't tell in the army, because they knew it was prevalent in there too. Now what? You can be gay in the army now because it's just like it was back in Greece, just like it was back in Rome. That's why America is built just like Rome was. In the scriptures, when it says that that wound was healed of that empire in Revelations, this is the wound that was healed because America has restored Rome to its full prominence. Keep going. Sloppy. Now, the history of homosexuality, remember, I said that this lecture was titled, "Is the Gay Agenda an Attack on Black Culture?" So we have to look at the history of the homosexual acts that the white man has done to us. And this is a quote from an actual slave. It says, "I know these facts that I'm going to talk about are seen too awful to relate," warns a former slave, William J. Anderson, in his 1857 narrative, "as they are some of the real and dark deeds of American slavery." Because you know, in history, American slavery is like 2 pages like this. You go like, we was enslaved, we was free. That's slavery in history. You never hear all the dark deeds. You get a book called When I Was a Slave, how they used to beat little girls till they bled to death. How they used to play games called Donkey Devil, where they would cut the goat, skin the goat, but then they would put the goat skin on and then chase black people. That's history of slavery. How when they had that Trail of Tears, how they used to put smallpox on the quilts to give them. So you think the white man coming to help you because he giving you a blanket. You put the blanket on, it's full of disease to kill you. That's the history of slavery.
In the rights for Valentine's Day, that's what they did. Cut up that goat and put it over them.
Right.
And that's part of that Valentine's Day.
Yeah, that's the history of the white man in slavery. And we have to teach our kids that. So when we tell our kids don't love the white man, but from their mind, it's like, well, the white man is nice. It's teacher and teaching and all that, but you have to give them their history. And every other nation gives their history. That Jewish man gives that fake Holocaust history. The Chinese man gives their history. I believe in China right now, is it China, Cat? Was it China or Japan? With the they want the men teachers.
China.
In China right now, because they feel that there's too many gay Chinese people, they bring in more Chinese straight men to correct them. Because if you care about your people, that's what you do. But our love for the so-called white man, we still keep sucking up to him. Because we're accepting the same old leadership. When that leadership has to go away. We've been in America for over 500 years following that leadership. How long are we going to follow that before we say, at least let's try something else? Because that's not working. Now, this is in the scripture, Joel 3:3. It said, "They have cast lots for my people and have given a boy for a harlot and sold a girl for wine." That's black folk. When you go back to slavery on that auction block, you can go to the next slide. When you think about slavery in that auction block, when they used to sell the black man, the black woman, the children, they would split and divide the families up. That's what the white man did to us. That's why we refer to the Bible, because it's the only thing that's going to give the prophetic nature how we got here and the prophetic nature how to get out of here. Now it says, did you know that during slavery, the U.S. gay white slaveholders, because the white man born gay. What I mean by that, you take that Jewish man, they suck on penises at 8 days old. They take that little baby boy when he's 8 days old and suck on his penis. And you know how we found out? Because the rabbis was giving those little boys herpes. That's how we found out. So now, if that's right, according, and they claim that it's according to God, they call it a moyo, where they put a little oil or something in their mouth and literally suck on a baby's penis. Now, if that was right according to God, why are they giving them herpes? It's not according to God. Ain't nobody sucking on no man's penis. Now, it says black men were routinely raped by their gay slave owners. The process was known as breaking the buck, and it involves perhaps the most heinous and atrocious act known to man. The perfect image to understand this is that movie Pulp Fiction. Anybody seen that movie Pulp Fiction? In the movie Pulp Fiction, you have Ving Rhames and Bruce Willis was caught in that store with them other 2 white folk. Now here's how, even in that movie, now you thinking, in the movie you thinking, well, they're going to do Ving Rhames first and then they was going to do Bruce Willis second. No, that's not how the movie was supposed to go. The movie went exactly how they wanted it to go. Meaning this, the white man always wants to remind us of our position on the earth. If you notice, the only movies that they'll push or be proud of is anything about our slavery. 12 Years a Slave, Roots, anything like that, they'll push. But if we push anything else, they won't push it or they'll change it, right? So in that movie, you notice the only one that actually got raped was Ving Rhames, the big, supposedly strong brother. He's the only one that get raped. That's where it comes from, this here, breaking the buck. It says the strapping Negro slave, who was defiant, surly, and may stir up trouble, was beaten with a whip till the bloody front of his of his entire slave congregation. Now you notice they say who was defiant and may stir up trouble. Why was he being defiant and stirring up trouble? He didn't like being enslaved. He didn't like being taken from the land that he was living in, brought on a goddamn boat, seeing his mama and all of them piss and defecate everywhere, the women having their menstrual cycles, surviving that, coming over here, and then the white man beating them and whipping them. So the strong men is the ones that said, well, let's get up out of that situation. Well, the white man in his gay process says, we're going to have sex with him in his behind. And not just in secret. They would bring him out like in the open, just like this, strap him down, and have sex with him right there. And that's the big strong one. Now to the other ones that ain't as strong, because every black man ain't got to be the strongest or the weakest, because we're a body. So if I'm not strong, the brother that is strong, he'll carry me. You understand? That's how it's supposed to be. So now if I'm the weak one and I see the strong one get raped, what am I going to do? Whatever the white man says. Because I don't want that to happen to me. And that's what they would do from slavery. Like this homosexual agenda that they pushing is something that they've been doing and perfecting for 400 years. And in 2016, they damn near got it right. Damn near got it right. How you know? Every TV show got men being homosexual. They put that African in office, Barack Obama, and when he first was going in office, he said he believed that marriage was between a man and a woman. And his second election, he said, I believe any people can have a civil union and get married. And the moment that he legalized it is the moment that you've seen us get flooded all throughout the media. Now, even in hip-hop, it ain't nothing but homosexuals or faggots in there, period. At all. They got that love in hip-hop in California. Now, we didn't get that footage. I couldn't take that. I couldn't get that footage. But I'll tell you about it from what I hear. But I ain't never watched it myself. But on that TV show, they got two men kissing, and they supposed to be in hip-hop. Chuck D and all of them got to be mad as hell, because I know we coming up in the 80s. That's why I love being born in 1975, because I got to see real men coming up. To it now, when I battled against this, which is why I can fight against this, because the men that I saw come up was not for faggots, was not for homosexuals. They was not for none of that. And now we have to carry that torch, because if we don't, the generations to come, it'll be homosexuality was always accepted. Just like in history, they take the pages of slavery out, they'll do the same thing. They'll say, no, they never fought homosexuality. They was always for it. I'll keep reading. It says, the slave owner, deathly afraid of an uprising, would cut down a tree, and with the help of an overseer, would then pummel the defiant buck into submission. Once the slave was worn down, the white master and other Negro slaves forced him over the tree stump, where his breeches would be removed. He would be laid fully exposed. So them pictures that they put up, where the brother is lynched after his pants is down, everything is removed, and he's used as an example. If you rebel against me, this will happen to you. And they do that to enough strong black men as to why you got weak, effeminate men today, because of what they did back then. It said the master would explain to all the strong young black men that if they do not follow the strict orders and comply with the whims of the overseer and the master, this too would be their fate. Let me give you another example of when they do it today. When the cops arrest you, how they arrest you? They lay you down on that ground. What they do? Spread your cheeks and search you. They're castrating you just like they was castrating you back then. Give me the next slide. Throughout. In order for his plan to take effect, he will require the buck's male child to watch, which is another thing they do. So now you got the strong man, now his son is watching that. I probably want to kill myself after that happened. Because how you going to look at your son and now be strong to your son? When your son looking at you, your woman looking at you, the congregation or the people is looking at you. You'll never overcome that. That's the psychological damage that they do to us. Now, I don't even agree with Martin Luther King, right? But even that was psychological damage too, only in this regard. Martin Luther King was a man that was supposed to be nonviolent. Now, he was soft as baby doo-doo, but he was a man that was supposed to be nonviolent, that loved sucking up to the white man, loved sleeping with the white woman. The reason why I say that was done to the psyche of black people, because we're the sheep. So what happened after you kill a man that was supposed to be about nonviolent? Every time we say separate from the white man, the only image they have is Martin Luther King. And I have a dream, and I got to be joined to him because that's what Martin was about. That's what the psychological damage is done to us. That's why we got to be careful what we let our children see. And then whatever it is that they do see, we have to explain it to them straight up. Because if we don't, they'll be just as susceptible to stuff like this as they were. Now, because the only difference is they're not doing it as violently today, but it's being done in the same manner. That's why I said the white man perfected it in 2016, because he don't have to break the buck literally like that. We're doing it willingly. I'll keep going. It says, in the front row center, so he can witness his father's sexual demise and humiliation. Breaking the buck was the slave master's very effective tool to keep all young black slaves from ever being defiant and taking revenge. It also frightened the mothers' wives from ever giving consent to the uprising. Why? Because if the father's not out of the picture, what do black women do? They raise their boys effeminate, not necessarily because they want to, in all cases, but because they're afraid for their sons, just like they was afraid for their husband when what happened to him. That's why black men have to be in every house. Commander Jenny Holland once said, we don't need a black man in the White House, we need a black man in every house. Right. And the reason why we need a black man in every house, because he's the protector. The woman, which is strong as well, but there's a completion between the man and the woman. That's not a woman's job to defend the house. That's the man's job to defend the house. Now, it says buck breaking was so successful that it was made into a sex farm. Because the white man and his nastiness, he don't just stop with just breaking the buck. Now he wants to sleep with all black men. That's how he sees us all. When they put you on that casting couch, when you see them black people just blow up out of nowhere, they done went on that casting couch. Right. And they went right to that sex farm and they got paid off, which is why we played Dave Chappelle clip in the beginning, because they probably wanted him on that couch. He didn't get on that couch. Now he crazy because he fled to Africa. Now I probably wouldn't have went to Africa either, but he went to Africa to flee. But I don't fault him, only in the regards of he just wanted to get away from the white people that wanted to rape him and put him in that sex farm, which is what has been taking place since then. It says where white men could travel from plantation to plantation, feeding their sadistic homosexual needs. If there was ever any doubt that the white race is our mortal enemy, please remove all doubt. Y'all see this lecture, when we say the white man is the devil and our mortal enemy, is not because of his skin color. That's right. At all. If his skin color was black, he still would be our mortal enemy because of the actions. Like, y'all got to take the whole black and white skin color concept out of your brain and just look at the crimes. Like the Jewish man that hates the Germans, they both white people. That's right. They don't hate the Germans because of their skin color. They hate them because they feel the Germans oppressed them so much so they be catching 95-year-old Germans for crimes from the 40s and 50s. And you know what they say? We locking them up because they escaped justice. Now that was 50-something years ago. But when black people speak about it, we can't want white people locked up, thrown in prison, thrown down a ditch. Y'all ever see that movie 300, that big pit? All white people should just go down that pit. And I guarantee you inside of 6 months, black people be fine. I guarantee you. Because then we wouldn't have that agitator in our brain. We wouldn't have that agitator in our thought process. And we would truly think survival, which is what black people think already. We already think to survive. The problem is when black people want to come together, you look at the Asians, they can come together. The Arabs, they can come together. Nobody bothers them. But when black folk come together, it's always a problem. You know why? Because we are naturally the most dominant people on the face of the planet. You want to know the proof? 40 years removed from slavery, we built a couple of cities in America. The most famous one, of course, is Black Wall Street. And that scared white people because they thought with their 300 or 200, 400 year head start, for sure we would be stupid. For sure we would be docile. And here it is, we building banks, hospitals, airstrips, flying planes. We doing all of that? No, we got to tear it down. That's why they like to say there's been no aerial attack on American soil, but that's a lie. When they put them grenades in them planes and flew over Wall Street and dropped them, that was the first aerial attack to destroy us. And then what did they do to build Black Wall Street up? Compromise. When the best thing to do to understand warfare, if 1 million black people got to die so that 5 million can enjoy that life, then 1 million black people should die. Because the white man has a Memorial Day every May. You know why? Because they feel those white men died so that they can live the way that they live it. And black people have to have the same spirit. Give me the next slide. Good night. The history of sexual violence continued because this is also about the black women too. Because make no mistake about it, the effeminization is what they do to our men. The masculine, I always mess up this word, so bear with me. The masculinization, I think I got it right, of the women is also taking place because they got our women acting like dudes. Yes, sir. They got this photo, I don't know if I got the photo in here or not, but they got this couple where the dude is looking like a woman. The dude looks like a straight up woman, and the person that he's with is a woman, but looks like a man. When I say look like a man, I mean they got more muscles than I got. They got abs, the broad got abs and everything. And literally is looking like a man, and the brother is looking like a woman. That's what they're doing in America today. So we have to recognize our women too. Because if we leave our women behind, we're no different than the white man. Yes, because the white man is doing the same exact thing. It says a slave girl was expected to have children as soon as she became a woman. This is where GMS get their history from. Salakia. Because some of them who had children at the age of 12 and 13 years old. Now y'all see why I say it. So now, it says the mother said there were cases where the young girls would love someone else, meaning your affection would be for one brother. The white man didn't care about that. This is what he would do. He said, and someone else would have to receive the attention of men of the master's choice. Meaning the white man would have to choose who she laid with instead of her choosing. It says this was general custom. The masters called themselves Christians, which is why the Christian church got to burn, y'all. That Christianity ain't got nothing to do with the Bible and everything to do with Satan. It says, went to church worship regularly and yet allowed this condition to exist. Because the white man's form of Christianity is just them. Only black people look at Christianity as everybody inclusive. Because the white man will tell you, when you go to take vengeance against the white man, they pull John 3:16 or Matthew 5:44, forgive your enemy. But when them towers fell, they didn't rejoice until Osama died. And Osama didn't fly one plane. He didn't do nothing. All he did was maybe give the order, and they did it. But America felt better after that. There was this girl whose father was kidnapped, a white woman. And she said that she'll never have justice until they're dead. But they're Christians too. You understand? But our form of Christianity has to always be, we just got to forgive the slave master. That's it. So now, it says Hillard Yellowdy, enslaved in North Carolina, interviewed, this is who we're talking about. It was because these memoirs that we get are from actual slaves. So that story that I just read was from Hillard Yellowdy, enslaved in North Carolina. Give me the next slide. It says, my master often went to the house, got drunk, then came out to the field to whip, cut, slash, curse, swear, beat, and knock down several for the smallest defense or nothing at all. He divested a poor female slave of all wearing apparel, tied her down to the stakes, whipped her with the chainsaw until he broke it over her naked body. This is the white man's agenda on black people. It says in the process, in process of time, he ravished a person and became the father of a child by her. Besides, he always kept a colored miss in the house with him. This is another curse of slavery. Because concubine and illegitimate connections, which is carried out to an alarming extent in the far south, where a poor slave man who lives close by his wife is permitted to visit her seldom, but other men also visited that woman. That's why I said we got to remember what's happening to our black women as well. And it says, I know these facts will seem too awful to relate, but I am constrained to write of such revolting deeds as they are some of the real dark deeds of American slavery. Like, we got to put stories like this knee deep into our chest, knee deep into our brain, so that when we go outside and when you go to your job, you ain't got to tell Mr. Charlie or something like that, you devil, I hope you die, unless it fits, unless he says something sideways to you. You got to do your job. But your main job or main priority are your people. That's right. But when we say you're going to do your job, all that is business. You understand what I mean? Your 9 to 5, that's just economic business. What we talking about in here is your people. There's a very clear difference. And a lot of people don't be understanding that, because when we say separate from the white man, they automatically assume we talking about building and growing our own things, which we should. But again, this ain't the matrix where it's going to happen by magic. You think we spend $3.something trillion with the white man. If we took 10% of that, black people would start healing. But black people want to live in a magic day. That's why they go in that Christian church, because they think you're just going to poof and it's just going to happen. No, it happens with work. It happens with going out on these streets. It's happening with doing these lectures like this so that we can speak against the atrocities. Now, when y'all go to work, go to work. But when your time is off, your total life should be about black people. Yes, that's what we do here. All right? Now, it says, I read that poem, so I'm sorry. Then the kind reader pursued my narrative, remember that I give no fiction in my details of horrid scenes. Nay, believe with me that the half can never be told of the misery of poor slaves still suffering in this so-called land of freedom. Give me the next slide. Because that mentality exists in each and every one of us at some point. Because we was all weak at some point. You understand? And then we started coming out of it. That's the disadvantage that black people had, and I'm going to read for you. This is Gail E. Wyatt, a psychologist out of UCLA. This is what she said. She said, we're certainly not the only group that's silent regarding abuse, but we're the only group whose experience is compounded by our history of slavery and stereotypes about black sexuality that makes this discussion more difficult. That's why even to do this lecture, I got kicked out about 3 different places. That National Black Theater, you'll never be able to talk about faggots out there, ever. I believe Irritated Genie, the brother right here, him and King Simon had to actually do a protest in front of that spot, right? Because they wanted to speak against it. Now that's the National Black Theater. They there to talk about black problems. And homosexuality is a black problem. That's right. But you can't talk about it there. I went to a bookstore in North. The cat told me I can't even talk against homosexuality in his store because homosexuals shop in his store. Wow. Is what he told me. That's why I thank this place, the Alhambra Bar, and they let me up in this junk. Give them a round of applause, please. They let us come out here and they said y'all can speak on that. Because this is something that's directly affecting black people. Now, how does entertainment distort our true personality on life? It says, why is America so threatened by a masculine, powerful black male? Does anybody know what a powerful black male is?
Brother in the school?
That's the perfect answer, but give me another answer. A powerful guy.
Build a community, husband, children, definitely a community builder.
Damn right. Anybody else?
A man of the Most High.
A man of the Most High. But a powerful black man also recognizes who his enemies are.
That's right.
And when he recognizes who his enemies are, he strategizes how all that other stuff y'all said is correct. As far as being a provider for his household, being a man for the community, but he also strategizes how to defeat the enemy that's battling him. That's why they're afraid of a strong, powerful black man. When y'all look at these leaders, these sports players, entertainers, they're not strong, powerful black men. I don't care how gangster the rap is. I don't care how hard he look in the movie theaters. If he ain't about fixing black people, he's not a strong black leader in America. Period. You understand? Now, it says, but accepting of an effeminate, declawed version of the black male, which is so common nowadays, because if the black man, the strong black man, is the one that's strategizing against the enemy, what's the effeminate one? He's blowing the enemy, literally. That's why they say the effeminate version is so common, and that's acceptable because he's not a threat. As hard as y'all think Denzel may be, Scarface, whoever you want to call it, they're not a threat to this society because they bend over backwards to serve it. So the white man will let you sound tough. He'll let you talk tough, but he know you ain't going to do nothing, so you're not a threat at all. So now, this is Mark. This is again what I've been theming the whole night. Mark 3:27, no man can enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods except he first bind the strong man. That's why they hate the strong black man. Now it says the effeminization of black males through the mass media. Everywhere you look throughout rap, no longer hip hop, at least through the mainstream, Hollywood, elsewhere in pop culture, there are constant images of black males being stripped of the threatening bravado and urban macho image that was once prominent. Like, it was prominent to be tough. That's why a name like P.E., X-Clan, Boogie Down Productions and stuff like that, they would actually do music. You would have your gangster music, but they would actually do music that was about uplifting black people. Like, with all the violence that's been happening to black people, in the 90s you would get songs fighting against that violence. You had self-destruction. Even the East Coast used to, the West Coast used to do the same thing. Now, with all the violence against black people today, who's talking about it? Right. If they're supposed to be strong black men, they would actually be talking about it. But they're for it as well. You know what I mean?
They say it don't sell, and who was buying them?
Exactly. With money, that's why, again, money will take your soul if you give it up. And that's what it all really boils down to. Our desire to be wealthy will take our soul and do whatever we want with it. Now, give me the next, I'm sorry. Yeah, give me the next slide. It says there is a strategic and deliberate effort by the powers that be who control the media, the music industry, and feminist group to emasculate men and masculate women. It's specifically African American, because every time they push homosexuality in any media format, it's always us that bring it to the light.
That's right.
Every single time. Sports, it was us. Hip hop, it was us. TV, it was us. The damn president. Even Bush, George Bush, one of the dumbest presidents on the planet, but he did not go with that gay nonsense at all. The first president, y'all like that president, Black and Barack Obama and all of that? He's the first one that came out with the gay stuff. So in every avenue that we have, it's always been us. That's why it says specifically African American. And reduce our roles and impact in society and create a new class of effeminate young men and emasculated women. Because the white man knows, like, in the last 5-6 years, the white man knows it's a climax. And y'all should realize it too. Like every 2 or 3 months, y'all seeing black people getting killed, especially now because you got these smartphones and these cameras. So you're seeing every type of atrocity live in the flesh. And so he knows at some point there's going to be an uprising. The closest was Baltimore. That was the closest uprising for harm being done to a brother. So they know that it's coming. So they have to take every powerful, every person that they feel black people look at, and then make him soft, so that you'll remain soft. Make the black woman more manly, so that the black women that look at them will become more manly. And then you know what happens? That black man and woman start fighting against each other. Not because they really have an issue, but the white man put that issue there.
That's right.
That's why he's the #1 agitator. So you be arguing with your woman, like you shouldn't even be in competition with your woman about nothing. If you with your woman, it's supposed to be about peace. I war outside. I shouldn't come in the house and then got to battle my woman over anything, nor should she have to battle me over anything. That's what it's supposed to be about when you're black household. But when you have an agitator, like you have out here, is why it happens like that. It says, I'm sorry. People like Tyler Perry and Oprah Winfrey are on board with this plan, and it is happening as we speak, because they're looked at as leaders. I just want to know who voted these Negroes to be leaders. Who voted? Like, and even Barack Obama, we didn't put him on the forefront. The white man put him on the forefront. We did not put him on. We didn't put none of our leaders on the forefront. Jesse, Martin, Malcolm was the only one that you could say was somebody that the people put on the forefront. He would probably be the first one that people actually put on the forefront. And this ain't even to be agree with Islam, because I don't. But just telling the truth of, he would be the person in Harlem. He was the one that would come out there and he was popular. But again, he wanted to join white people too in the end, so that didn't work either. It says the sociological acceptance of deviant behaviors such as homosexuality is gradually becoming more accepted, and as it infects our schools, our churches, our TV shows, literature, music, and our youth. When you go, they got schools in Atlanta that's geared towards homosexuality on purpose. Atlanta is like the black gay San Francisco. I remember a couple years ago, in like 2000, I had a boy of mine say, man, I'm going down to Atlanta. They got jobs, it's great and everything. Not no more. You don't want to go down to Atlanta about right now. We're going to pull up some numbers on that, John, too. All right? It says, as the perversion spirals out of control, we are seeing our young people under the illusion that they can change gender. You know, Medicaid, you can change gender with Medicaid now. With yeah, I'm dead serious. If you got Medicaid, they will actually pay for your gender to be changed. Medicaid. Medicaid. Look it up. Do we have that in this slide? I mean, like, I got 60 slides, so I might have missed some stuff, but if you look that up, Medicaid, you can change your sex with Medicaid. It's disgusting. Now, it says, I'm sorry, bear with me. It says, a young masculine boy down low suddenly wants a tranny or a feminine boy or to be a girl. A young feminine girl wants a girl or stud who looks and acts and dresses like a boy, which is how you know it's a mental disease. That's right. Because how you gonna be a woman looking for another woman but want that other woman to look like a man? Why wouldn't you just get the man? And I'm gonna tell you, this ain't gonna be vulgar, but it might be perceived a little vulgar. Do you know why the bull dagger has to give that woman rod? Because without rod, she will go to a man, because that's the natural attraction. So they got to put something in that box. understand? That's why voters out getting trying to make it G-rated. Trying to make it G-rated. It says, I'm sorry, give me the next slide, I'm sorry. Trying to be nice. It said, if you want to destroy the black man, you break up and redefine his family structure. Let me tell y'all something. This is a sidebar. Y'all know drug dealers get glorified too. And I heard somebody say, well, it was better in the 70s. Because in the 70s, even though they were selling drugs, the family, you know, they still cared about grandma walking up the street and all that. Y'all don't know nothing about infant stage and then adulthood. And what I mean by that, the reason why when they were selling heroin and they called themselves caring about grandma, that's a lie. They never cared about grandma, because if you cared about grandma, you wouldn't get her grandchildren hooked on drugs, first of all. And because they was nice, it's because it was in its infant stage. So it was new. What you're seeing in 2016 is the result of the 70s. The result of that heroin being sold, what came after heroin? Cocaine, crack, syrup, weed, all of that is a result of the 70s. They should have died too. I'm not for drug dealers either. If you're a drug dealer, you're an enemy not only to us, but to God as well. Because you destroy black households. If my father never met his drug dealer, he'd be alive today. You understand? So now, it says you cloud or minimize his role and wipe away his identity. You incarcerate him. You devalue him. You create the socio-economic conditions that will cause him to break the law in order to survive. That's what the white man has done to black people. He has totally devalued us by putting us in the prisons, by taking away our identity, for us not knowing who we are, by making it so hard for a black man to get a job. Like it says, you will cause him to break the law to survive, because he thinking survival. I'm thinking I'd die before I would sell drugs at all. That's what I'm thinking.
That's right.
You understand? So now it says you make him undesirable to the African American woman. I'm using that to be blanket, but we know we black or tribe of Judah or Ephraim or whatever. Then it says you profile and ostracize him. Then you reduce his reproduction. This is exactly what the so-called white man wants to do to black people. And that's how he divides it, because when you look at the top part, you incarcerate him. When you incarcerate him, he becomes unattractive to a black woman. Now, when you start taking all the resources, because there's more black men in jail than it was during slavery, what does that leave the black woman with? Somebody from another race to deal with. And you black woman got to be strong. Just get you a man and don't worry about if you got other women. That's all, you'll be fine. That's the sidebar. Now, it says little by little, the water. It says little by little, real male role models are being erased and replaced with perverted, unproductive images and behaviors, because the ultimate goal by the white man is to stop young soldiers from being born.
That's right.
Because if black men are being gay, ain't no children being born.
That's right.
That's why the white man used that, and he uses Planned Parenthood. That abortion is another method. That's why you black women got to hold strong with that. You know what I mean? You get that baby in that womb, that's a gift from the Most High.
That's right.
Psalms 127:3 says the gift of the womb is from the Most High.
That's
If you get
right.
pregnant, God wanted you pregnant.
That's right.
And you should keep that baby. You don't want that baby sent to us. We'll raise that kid.
That's right.
It says little is being, images, actors in dresses like Jamie Foxx, Martin, Will Smith, Terry Crews, Tyler Perry, the cat from 12 Years a Slave had a damn dress on. It says have become amusing and acceptable in our community. When I was younger, Shanae was funny to me. When I was young, because I ain't know no better. I'm like 12. You see Shanae, it's funny to you. But it's not funny now, because that's a man playing a role. You telling me he couldn't have had a black woman? Black women like being sassy. Pam was on the show. She was sassy as hell. You could have got a black woman to play the role. But now, the laughter that we have at Martin is why we accepted it. I'll give you another one. Omar from The Wire. That's where the young thugs come from. Because Omar from The Wire was glorified in The Wire. He's a faggot. Oh, but he gangster because he robbing niggas. You ever see that concept? So now because he gangster because he robbing cats, they letting it slide that he blowing the Puerto Rican brothers back out. They let that slide. So now what happens now? The thugs in the street, they think it's cool because the media told them that it was cool. That's why we gotta fight it. It says, have become amusing and acceptable in our community, and too many of us are trading part of our soul for money fame, or laughter. The wrong way has become acceptable that the right way is looked at as the wrong thing. Like when we come out here and say we're against homosexuals, it's like the earth comes down on you. Like I remember when they was talking about it on Sports Center one time, and one of the brothers said he didn't agree with homosexuality, and they want to start talking about adultery and other things, because it's like they want you to have opinion, but it has to be their opinion. AKA they want you to be a robot. Whatever the white man says is good, that's what you better say good, because if you don't, we'll remove you out the way. Which is why it's better to be removed out the way. It's better to not be a part of the society instead of joining it at our destruction. So now this is a prime example. This is called the prancing elites. These is all men right here. All of them. Wow. All of these are men. The prancing elites. This is allowed to be on a damn TV show. Now, you gonna let your sons watch this? You shouldn't even let your daughters watch this.
That's right.
Because your daughters watch this and then they think it's acceptable to accept gay people. And then women be thinking faggots like them. Faggots don't like you, sisters. They hate you because they want to be you.
That's right.
Because you got a box they wish they had. A breast they wish that. That's why they get the damn surgery to change. Gay people, gay men do not like black women. Please get that in your head. Give me the next slide, please.
Teach.
Thank you, brother. 1 Corinthians 14:33 says, for God is not the author of confusion. I believe when God created male and female, he knew exactly what he was doing. He was making that man for that woman. That's why the man has a rod, the woman has a box. That's about as clean as I can say it. For them to have intercourse, produce children. That is the purpose. Even the animals know that. That is the purpose, to procreate. They ain't having sex with each other like that. All right? Deuteronomy 22:5, the woman shall not wear that which pertaineth unto a man. That does not mean a woman cannot wear a dress, pants. But what that means is I don't shop at Lane Bryant or Ashley Stewart. I don't know a lot of women's stores. Those are the only two I know, because that's where my mama shop. So I don't know a lot of women's stores. But I know I don't shop in there when I want my clothes. And a woman shouldn't shop in my store when she want her clothes. Because those clothes are catered to her, my clothes are catered to me. Isaiah 48:6 and 8, it says, remember to show yourselves as men. In this day and age, black men should show themselves as strong black men. Not the typical black men that gotta be hard and walking, being tough and running the block. Like brothers like to claim a block. The block don't even belong to you. The white man show you every time he come and lock you up on your block. If the block was yours, he couldn't lock you up on your damn block. But you damn sisters, ain't nothing stronger than a strong black sister. And that black sister ain't strong because she can out-talk me.
That's right.
That don't make you strong. Right. Black women, I'll tell you something, black women, y'all can get men to do whatever y'all want.
Yes, sir.
Being the opposite of trying to talk more than me.
That's right.
You want to get me to do something for you? Don't be the opposite of that loudmouth woman. You'll probably get every black man in here, they be running like, I want to do something for such and such. You see how she is? That's how you win them over, not being manly. All right? 1 Corinthians 6 and 9, it says, no need of unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of God. Right. Meaning and that goes for the Christian church, which we'll get into in a second. In the Christian church, you can be whatever you want. You can be a homosexual. The choir director is the homosexual all throughout the Christianity. And let me tell you, everybody knows this. It's not nothing new. It's not nothing hard to understand. Everybody knows in the Christian church that pastor is a homo. That choir director is a homo. But you know why they don't say nothing? Because I'm a drug dealer in the church. Or I'm a thief in the church. Or I'm an alcoholic in the church. So I know if I say something about him being a faggot, he's going to start pulling up my stuff. Which is what makes Christianity confusion.
That's right.
Whereas in the Israelite School of UPK, we talk about everything because we don't allow anything that's against God to take place in the church. We don't allow that. All right? Give me the next slide. I'm looking at on time. We might be making good time today. For all you Farrakhan lovers, boy.
Don't do it.
For all you Farrakhan lovers, I'm going to tell you what Farrakhan said. And for any black woman after y'all hear this, y'all should run out of the nation of Islam. Please play this clip for me, please.
Movies. And while I'm on that question, I want to say how grateful I am to Tyler Perry.
You see what he said? How grateful he is to Tyler Perry. No, keep on.
Probably one of the most brilliant young entrepreneurs that we have. Why do I admire him?
Now pause that. Out of all the people to talk about in the media, he picks Tyler Perry to be the author of the media. Now here's what he's going to say. Keep going. Play it, please.
I have never seen his portrayal of Medea as a man cross-dressing.
Pause that, please. You heard what he said? He said, I never saw Medea being portrayed as a, that's what I saw. I'll give a quick story. My daughter came in the house one time, and I'm in the kitchen, and she said, Daddy, I was over my sister's house, and she said, I was watching this movie. I don't know what it was called, but it was something, and I believe she was talking about Medea's family reunion or something like that. And she said, this grand lady, she was funny how she gave it, and I'm fuming inside as she's telling me about it. But I'm trying to let her get it all out. And so when she finished telling me how great this movie was, the first thing came out of my mouth was, I said, you know that was a man. And she says, who? I said, that grandmother. And it looked like her eyes rolled in the back of her head. And she never talked about that movie again. But that's the greatest person. He said he don't see her as a cross-dressing, see him as a cross-dressing man. But this is who Farrakhan sees Tyler Perry as. Play it.
I saw his wonderful portrayal of Medea as bringing to the forefront the strongest person in the history of our sojourn in America, and that is Medea. That strong black woman.
You heard what he said? He said that he saw Medea as bringing to the forefront the strongest person in our sojourn in America, which is Medea, and represents the black woman. Now, that's so wrong on a bunch of courses. First of all, in one aspect, he's saying that the only person that can represent a strong black woman is a man.
Yes, sir.
That's what he's saying first. But here's what he's also saying. Anybody that's seen the Medea movies or them plays, Medea plays a drug addict. She plays a loud mouth. She don't know who her daddy is. She was on the Maury Povich show too. And she does everything illegal. And that's what she's saying all you black women is. And that's what he's saying Medea represents of the black woman. That's the strongest black woman. And we still let him be a leader. Now here's how I tell you how he sold out. In the 70s, he would have never said that. In the 60s, he would have never uttered his mouth to say that a cross-dressing faggot is the strongest representation of black women in America. Now, why is he saying it today? Because he sold out too. Because these are part of the agenda. That's why these leaders have to go. These leaders cannot represent us because these leaders are feeding themselves. They're not feeding us. Keep the next slide, please. That was heavy. When I saw that, I think I brought that story out about 3 times. 3 times. Now I'm going to give y'all a little collage. This your boy Omar, flaming homosexual. But he just dressed as a thug. So y'all let Omar slide. That's why all these thugs get allowed to be gay and nobody say nothing about it. Or be so-called on the down low.
Yo, in real life, you saying? In real life?
No. I'm talking about as far as acting.
Oh, he really a doctor.
Oh, he really like that?
Yeah.
Good night. This is one. Then you got, what's this cat's name again?
Flip Wilson.
Flip Wilson. Listen, there's a video that we got the bunny clip. Listen, man. There's a video we had where the white man says, "Where's my bunny?" And when he says, "Where's my bunny?" Flip Wilson come out wearing a damn bunny skirt, high heels and everything, and be a bunny for the white man. This is what we have allowed in the media. Everybody know who this is. This is the new faggot they praise in that TV show Empire. You got Medea. You got Kevin Hart, who said he wouldn't dress as a woman. Look at him in this photo here. These are our leaders. The director Lee Daniels said he about to blow the lid off of homophobia in the gay community. That's why when you watch the TV show Empire, every other scene got some gayness.
That's right.
And let me tell you what happens. What they do. The reason why you'll watch Empire is because of all the perceived coolness in it.
Right.
You know, you got the drug dealing, excuse me, not the drug, you got the hip hop, the music, they put little battles in there, and then they go and ride. They put a little music, little hip hop battles in there, then the men kissing other men. So now you say, well, I'm gonna watch all the scenes, but I ain't gonna watch that part. But no, because you're gonna stop fast forwarding. You're just gonna say, I'm gonna tolerate those little 10 seconds. And then if you watching them with other people, everybody's getting that imprint in your brain. So when you walk outside and you see two men kissing, you think empire. So it's like, okay, I just ain't gonna look at it. And we become immune to something that we should hate. Utterly. All right? You got my man DeAndre Jordan, this side, another boy here. This DeAndre Jordan. DeAndre Jordan is 6'11". I saw this brother dunk balls. I mean, he a big, strong brother. And when they do the commercial, they couldn't get a woman to play the grandma. Even take it back further. Larry Johnson played grandmama. Now, when I was a young kid, I thought it was cool to see him dribble the ball and dunk it and all that. But then what does that do? That brings us now to 2016, where DeAndre Jordan does the same exact thing. You got Lil Wayne, that's self-explanatory. Look at this. you got Will Smith's son, which we're going to get into next. Now, if you look at Will Smith's son, every photo that I've seen of Will Smith's son, he don't even look happy.
That's right.
He looks sad. Because his father is making him do it.
That's right.
His mother is making him do it. Which is why I say it's an attack on the black household. Because the attack on the black household allows the men and women, we're allowing it. We have to take that responsibility of what we allow our children to see and not see. Otherwise, when they grow up and they be messed up, it's our fault. We can't blame the media for that. Because we're allowing that media into our household. All right? Give me the next slide. Oh, wait. Before you go, you got my man Most Def. For all you Muslims out there, look at him. He got his dress on too. He got his dress on right there.
And the shoes.
That's right. And them gay-ass shoes. The same way. What's up?
Today is important with that too, because you got Cam Newton running around.
Listen, I got him in here. Listen, I got you covered, bro. I got you covered. Give me the next slide. I got it. Give me the next slide, please.
That's your boy.
Please play this clip for me, please. Now, before you play the clip, they did this on purpose. Y'all notice Jada Pinkett with her legs open? Will Smith with her legs crossed. To show you she's the man, he's the woman. You understand? Which is why I say it ain't just having a black man and black woman. They got to be against this society, because that's supposed to be a black man, black woman. They supposed to be the pinnacle of what we see in the media to raise your kids properly. But they don't see it that way. How they see it as, we work for the white man too. They put Will on the casting couch from the moment he got there. From the moment he got there, they put him on the casting couch. All right? Play the clip for me, please. Now, remember Will Smith, for anybody that wasn't here, Tazaryach, pause it. For anybody that wasn't here earlier, we had played a collage of clips. And in those clips, it showed Will Smith, when he was in that movie 6 Degrees of Separation, which I have never seen. Y'all forced me to see it, because I had to do this lecture. So, that's the disclaimer. So, in that clip, he tells a white man that he wants to have sex with him, and there's a scene where they having sex with each other. Here's the result of letting Will Smith do that. Play the clip.
And his new gig in Louis Vuitton's spring-summer campaign is no exception. Will and Jada's son strikes a pose alongside 3 female models.
This is female
while their
models.
genders may be
Now pause that for a second. All of them are white. They could have got a white man to play that gay. Why do they make the brother? Because the attack is on us. That's right. The attack is to make us gay. The attack is to make us homosexual, to stop our reproduction, not the white man. That's why it's 3 white women, because they smart, and they bring the brother in there like that. Go ahead.
Their duds aren't, and that's kind of a big deal. The 17-year-old sports a skirt from the collection, something he's made headlines for wearing in the past.
Look at it, he still ain't smiling. You see all the pictures? He's not smiling in these pictures. I guarantee you he was forced by his father. I guarantee you.
Wearing a skirt comes as naturally to him as it would to a woman who long ago granted herself permission to wear.
You know why he said wearing a skirt comes naturally to him? Because his father never taught him differently. He probably saw his father in a skirt. I guarantee it. Probably saw Jada smacking him up or some nonsense like that. Please take me to the next slide. I'm good. Take me to the next slide. Some of this stuff I can't tolerate. I have to teach it for y'all's sake. But but I can't tolerate. There's another collage. You got your boy Medea. That's Wesley Snipes. Used to be Nino Brown. Everybody thought he was a gangster. Everybody, that's what I mean with them thugs. Them people that we look at as gangsters, not. At one point, Nino Brown was the most thorough cat in media. Until Tu Wong Fu came out. Got the dress and wig on. They've been faggots forever. The Wayans brothers. Jamie Foxx as well. He got a show called Foxhole. I'll say no more. You got Eddie Murphy. You got Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart didn't just play a woman. He played a girl, a little girl. On Saturday Night Live, you got Martin and I forget that cat's name. And you got Martin and Eddie down here too. Give me the next slide. Okay. Gender policing is when people make assumptions about an individual based on their gender identity. Like, for example, that man should date a woman, according to Laverne. Gender policing particularly is damaging to straight men who date transgender women.
The hell?
How the hell is it? I'm going to say it again. Listen, I can't make this stuff up. This is called gender policing. Like, you shouldn't be policing and making sure that a man is dating a woman. That's gender policing is what they're saying. And they basing it by saying, it says, like example, a man should date a woman. According to Laverne, gender policing particularly is damaging to straight men who date transgender women. I don't care how that man changes. If that man got a rod between his legs, you're a faggot. If you sleep with a man. And they calling him straight because they recognizing or trying to say that that man is a woman now. Because of some because Medicaid paid for the operation. So now that's not a man no more. If you was born a man, you'll always be a man. And she says these men need some listen, this is the head cracker. The person says these men need some high profile, someone of high stature to come out of this specific kind of closet. You know what he's saying? Just like with Michael Sam, which we'll get into in the sports section. Just like in basketball with Jason Collins. Which I don't know how Jason Collins even got to be the spokesperson. Brother averaged like 1 point a game. Nobody, listen, I don't even know if we got the statistics, but nobody even cared about Jason Collins until he came out being gay. His jersey skyrocketed. Right. Michael Sam was like the 200. Michael Sam was like the 246th person drafted. When he kissed that white boy, his jersey skyrocketed up with Manziel and all of them other number ones that got drafted. Why? Because he chose to be homosexual. That's why they're saying there has to be a high profile. This is one of the most heaviest points. Because whenever they want to make something comfortable to black people, they take a high person of high stature to push that agenda. That's why they want a high person. That's why they'll put Tyler Perry on the forefront. They'll put Lee Daniels on the forefront. Anything that they're pushing. When it came to abortion, who did they put out? Black preachers. Yeah, Adam Clayton Powell's, all of them. When you do the history, they were the start of the Negro Project. Why? They were so revered that whatever they said, God said it. When they put out that sign that said the most dangerous place for a black baby is a mother's stomach, who took it down? Al Sharpton. Who said it was legal? Jesse Jackson said it was okay. Because he was prominent, they allowed him to do it. If they get a high-profile person to date a transgender, obviously Mr. C wasn't high-profile enough. But if they get a high-profile person, they will then say gender policing is wrong. All right? It says most men who are attracted to and date transgender women are probably stigmatized more than trans women are. This is the excuse that they're trying to make. You can take me to the next slide. And the reason why that part is important is because the reason why we got to have this lecture is because Omar is stigmatized as being okay to so-called gangsters that want to be gay. You understand? Tyler Perry is stigmatized, making that okay. Everybody is. Now you got Lee Daniels said he's using Empire to blow the lid off of homophobia in the black community. When you look at this photo, right? Y'all see the three sons back here, right? Now you got this one here who's a mama's boy. He get beat up, smacked around. He always run to his mama. So he's effeminate. You got this one, he bipolar. He fit the quintessential part of America. He got him a white woman. Don't know what to do. Now, all of their stories, their background of their stories is tore from the floor up. Then you look at him. He get the Pepsi commercial. He's the owner of Empire. Everything about the faggot is great, pure, and of grandeur to tell you what? Being gay is the way. And now you look at this black man and black woman, they run a damn label. Why do they have to fight each other in charge of the label? Why? Because they want that stigma to trickle down into every black household so that they'll fight against each other. You want to be like Cookie? You got to be loudmouth against your husband. You want to be like him? You got to berate or beat your wife. And then that's what is proliferated. That's why we have to battle against these principalities that take place. Now, it says according to, remember he said he want to blow the lid off of homophobia in the gay community. It says according to the CDC, the South has the greatest number of people living with the disease and dying with the disease in Georgia. 613 people in 2012 died of AIDS. That's blowing the lid off because that's a blood disease and that's a curse from God. And what separates black people from everybody else is we were the one given the law not to be homosexual.
Right.
We was the ones given the law not to lay with mankind as with womankind. That go for you men and you women. When we do it, we're number one in AIDS. Right? It says with the growing popularity of Truvada, which is supposed to be a disease that prevents it, it says the national rate of new HIV cases decreases each year. It's easy to think that the AIDS epidemic is over, but not for everyone. The sobering fact is that 32% of black gay men are HIV positive. Now remember the numbers we brought out earlier was there's 3.7, the percentage of black people that are gay are 3.7. But we're only 11 to 12% of the population. That's more than a quarter of black people that are gay. And 32% of them are carrying the AIDS virus. Give me the next slide. And y'all don't see what the problem is? The problem is the white man wants to eradicate black people until we exist no more. It says, contrary to stereotypical images, which peg LGBT people as disproportionately white, because when you think of the lesbian gay movement, you think of white people for the most part. But contrary to that, a new survey shows that that community is largely African American. We make up majority of that. According to the report released, 4.6% of African Americans responded to yes when asked if they identify as lesbian, gay, or bisexual, along with 4% of Hispanics. I don't care about the Asian part. It says this data reveals that relative to the general population, the LGBT population has a larger proportion of non-white people that is clearly not overly wealthy, said the study, because the attack ain't against the wealthy and the rich, it's now attacking on us, the lower end people. Who's watching Empire? Poor black people is watching the Empire. And when they see that, when we go up and down 125th Street, what do you see? Nothing but metrosexual men. I did an interview on 125th Street. These four brothers rolled up. I applauded them for having regular clothes on. Because everybody else that we were seeing, you was there, Red, everybody else that we were seeing had them tight pants on. And then I don't understand how the tight pants got to sag. They so damn tight, they shouldn't be able to sag. That's how you know it's about being gay, that it's about a gay agenda. Right. That's why Isaiah 3:9 says the show of their countenance witness against them. Meaning what we're seeing from the white man that trickles down to the media is showing what the true agenda is. And to eradicate the black man and black woman, it says, they witness against them and declare their sin as Sodom, and they hide it not. In the 80s, you couldn't come out like this. In the 90s, you couldn't really come out this. It started happening maybe in the late 90s, early 2000s. And then you started having all of this gay agenda start coming to where in 2016, I don't think there's a black show or black movie that exists without having some type of gayness in it at all. If y'all know of one, please tell me, because I did the research. I ain't found it yet. Give me the next slide, please. Now, this is just a switch, just to show you in the 90s, this is just as we do the hip-hop media. In the 90s, you had groups like Public Enemy, you had groups like the Wu-Tang, although RZA done changed in 2016 now. He's saying he don't have a problem with cops. You had groups like Naughty by Nature. Give me 2000s, please. Now you got Lil Wayne, you got Slim Thug, you got Andre 3000. He probably was the start. Erykah Badu did that to him. You got this cat, Quan. You got this cat, Rich Homie Quan. Look at the dance. What they call? I don't know the name of these dances. Anybody know the name of this dance?
Hitting the Quan.
All right, Tazaryach. It's called Hit the Quan. And that dance is a literal gay dance to do. And he got the tightest pants that you could have on the face of the planet. This is the result of the so-called white man. And we allowed him to come in. Like when you had hip-hop was meant as a tool that when you go back and you look at the message, when you look at all the video, White Lines, when you look at all of the songs, hip-hop was really meant as an outlet for us to express the atrocities that was happening to us. And the white man saw the wealth and power in that, and what he decided to do was proliferate it and turn it into another tool to destroy us. And now you're seeing the results of it. Keep going. Oh.
Damn.
Yeah. So all y'all like that damn Super Bowl. Again, I applaud y'all for coming. Give yourselves a hand clap for thinking that the Super Bowl was, this was more important than the Super Bowl. Everybody want to support. Listen, so I let it know. I was on record saying I was rolling with Cam before I saw this. I didn't see none of this. I said I want Cam to win the Super Bowl because he was a brother. And then I saw him with these skinny pants on. And this is an example of how powerful that media is on our people. He wore them pants, that picture came out, they sold out online. Sold out. You couldn't even find them online. And this is supposed to be a brother we all supposed to be down with. He claimed to be black. He talked black. He's a faggot too. There ain't nobody in that media that's not a homo. You got to get that in your brain. Look at him for Valentine's Day. He being the ballerina. This is Cam. So y'all think about that now. Y'all think about that when y'all go watch that Super Bowl. Y'all say, get him, Cam. Get him. He getting them. He getting them for real. And they wearing them tight. Even when you think about football, now everybody like the sport. But even when you think about the football, back in the days, they used to have so much padding and all of that stuff on. It wasn't as homosexual as it is now. They don't have nothing on now. They putting their hand up in the butts, grabbing on each other. What's that cat, Odell Beckham from the New York Giants? Every time you see him, they got videos of him looking at men's butts, dancing like a man, prancing like a man. And you know why they put him out and don't put nobody else out? Because he fits the agenda. Now, all the people that look up to Odell, all them little kids that's struggling, or all them adults that's struggling, they're going to say, well, if Odell doing it, I can do it. If Cam can wear these pants, I can wear these pants. That's why they're being sold out. That's why, again, this lecture is about the attack on the black household. That's right. Give me the next slide. This is Michael Sam. When Michael Sam won the got drafted. Now he got drafted, I don't even know what round he got drafted in. Might have been the 6th round. He was a 246th person selected. Damn. Now, at that point, the only time ESPN and all of them, anybody ever watched the drafts, they really only do the first 2 rounds live. Yeah. The rest of them are done off the record because nobody cares about the 3rd, 4th, 5th round. But now with Michael Sam. And when Michael Sam won, the first thing they did was show him kissing this white boy. So you know what all them football players in colleges said? It's okay because the NFL will accept me. It's okay because they accept Michael Sam. Now, here's some statistics. They said Michael Sam might have been the 249th player chosen in the draft, but his Rams jersey is number 2 in sales. All because he came out and kissed that white boy. And then that encourages everybody else to kiss the white boy. Or kiss a man, period. It says the St. Louis Rams picked the Missouri product. It says the jersey of Johnny Manziel drafted in the 1st round. Now, usually the 1st round draft pick gets everything sold. The 2nd round gets everything sold. It said is the top seller. In fact, his jersey outsold all NFL veterans since April 1st from Thursday to Saturday. The days of the draft, almost as many Manziel jerseys were sold as Andrew Luck, Robert Griffin III, and Tim Tebow combined. He outsold them. All because he did that. Give me the next slide. This is Greek. Oh, what's this one?
You know what it is.
Oh, y'all gonna have this. I think I didn't play the other video because it was a little too vulgar. This is Greek life. Remember we gave the history of how the homosexuality started with the Greeks. And then you pledgers and all of that, y'all want to pledge and be them Kappa and Alphas, you do some gay stuff too. And this is what they came up with. Now, this is a little vulgar, and not in wordplay, it ain't really nothing. It's nasty to me because I'm a man.
Disgusting.
Y'all check it out, it should be nasty to y'all too. And this is why we have to play it, so that we can face the reality. Play it, please. This is what they do in the fraternities. Watch this. Watch this. follow. You go to college and y'all want pledge, this is what you can look forward to.
That's right.
Because the white man, again, is a natural homosexual.
That's right.
This is what we have to battle. Now look at them brothers in there. Them is strong black brothers. We need to have them all black.
Right.
Marching and stomping to fix conditions of black people. Not putting the egg. The egg is symbolic with sperm. Mm-hmm. Give me the next slide, please. Thanks, Tazaryach. Thank you. During the days of slavery, whites used stereotypes such as Jezebel and even the angry black woman to justify the cruel and humane ways they used to treat black women, because they act like black women are not even thought of for the most part when we talk about the effeminization and stuff like that. Like I always come back to that recent story because that kind of hurt me a little bit. The sister that got raped in Brooklyn because nobody spoke up for her. The reason why is since slavery, whites have used those stereotypes as Jezebel because they'll say, oh, she probably asked for it. What was she doing out there at 11:30 at night? She was out there with her father. Nobody says, what was her father doing having her out there at 11:30 at night? And then abandoning her and not protecting her. You understand? And then just rolling. It says, despite the cruel origins of these stereotypes, they have somehow weaseled their way in today's mainstream media, where they are being perpetrated not only by whites, but as blacks as well. What it's talking about is extorting black women, where we're turning our women, where the only way you can be tough is if you're a man, where a woman ain't meant to be tough. The scriptures say she was so tender and delicate, she wouldn't even put her foot on the ground. That's how the black woman is supposed to be. The reason why she's like that is because since slavery, she's been built and bred like that. It says during the times of slavery, the bodies of African American women were sexualized in order to make a mockery of them. That's why even when you deal with molestation of a woman, nobody really says anything about it.
That's right.
It's like she should just be used as a sexual object. That's what she was supposed to do. And then when she become gay, you don't understand, because nobody said anything for her when she was being molested as a child. That's why we're bringing this up. It says during the time, today's modern day Jezebel is even pushed even further. For example, Nicki Minaj would be a popular example. Her name is Minaj. So what does she encourage? Lesbianism, being gay. And everybody looks up to Nicki Minaj like she's somebody else. Beyonce, another one. Everybody looks at Beyonce, she ain't got no problem being gay either. She portrayed a whole happily married stuff, but she ain't got no problem with that either. And then the young women look up to that as if that's the way to be. It says, her curves are objectified as a sexual plaything for men. She is also portrayed as an open lesbian in every video, movie, sports. She's being used as a tool just like the black man. That's why, again, we have to fix the entire black household. The black man is the protector. The black woman is the backbone of the man. And that's what we have to fix. Give me the next slide. I'm going to move just a little faster because we're getting a little short on the time. This is a sister, what's her name? Tazaryach used to like her.
Keke Palmer.
Keke Palmer. I used to like Keke Palmer too. Young girl. Keke Palmer is somebody that my daughter used to look at. She don't look at her no more. It says the video that she did, and the video that she had, she was with a man, left a man's house, and then went to a woman's house. And this is why. She said the video was to represent the young women of today. This is what they're pushing on our sisters. It's not the traditional woman anymore. Meaning it's not the traditional man with woman, woman with man. She says that not the specifics of am I gay, or am I straight, or am I bi. She says I'm making the rules for myself, and I don't have to be stuck down to one label. That's the agenda that's being pushed today. She said she isn't interested in defining her own sexuality. You can give me the next slide, because she said I could be with a man today, be with a woman tomorrow. That's what they're pushing in this place. And here's an example. This is Angela Bassett right here. Wow. Angela Bassett in American Horror Story, and this is the nice photo. Yes, sir. I could have gave you the photo where she got the white woman laying on top of her. Yes, she licking on breasts and everything.
Come on, don't do that to Angela, man.
She shouldn't have did it to herself. Angela Bassett allowed herself, and she used to be, she played Tina Turner, she played Betty Bass, she played great roles, and now she's reduced to this. In the 90s, she wouldn't have done it. That's right. But now when that agenda is getting proliferated even further, everybody is doing it. Everybody knows of Snoop, Raven Simone. This here, Tori, what's I forget her name. This the basketball player. Say again? There we go, Garner. Married a woman, and then they had to go to court for paternity tests. 2 women had to go to court for paternity. You got that's Jocelyn. Everybody knows she gay. You got Latifah, and you got Nicki Minaj as well. This is Juanita Bynum, a Christian pastor. She gay too.
What?
Juanita Bynum. Yeah. Yeah. She homosexual. She bisexual too. Give me the next slide. A lot of that stuff get hidden, man. Listen, pay attention. I'll tell you even better. Come to class. Come to class and learn how to be a soldier with us. Play that. Now, this is an example. A role reversal. A woman is not supposed to do what we're about to watch right here. It said, pause it for a second. It says, Chrissy pulls a Floyd Mayweather. Meaning it was so hard, they referenced her to a man because this is what a woman is trying to be when she does that. Play it, please.
Yeah, I'm gonna get up. What you want? Wait.
Pause it for a second. This is what the media wants black women to be.
Right.
Loud mouth, rambunctious, out of order, chaotic, and there's a faggot in every last one of these circles. There's a homosexual in every last one of these circles with these Hollywood hip-hop wives or whatever, and he thinks he's better than them. Because again, that faggot does not like black women. He's trying to replace them. He's going to tell a man, I can do it better than she can. Play it.
What you got? What you got to stop? What you gonna stop? What you gonna stop? I came here to do what I had to do. And if you guys have a problem with it, so be it.
It's coming. Don't worry, it's coming. Now, this is World Star. Only difference is, the reason why you have World Star like this is because they watch this. That's why the only videos that get played on World Star is like this. This is how the media is used to destroy black women. You see that? You see how she's throwing her around? You can stop it, guys. Give me the next slide. That is not the purpose of black women. Black women are supposed to be raising some babies, supporting a man, helping build a nation. They are not supposed to be on a goddamn TV fighting each other like that. Now this is Glory Johnson wants $20K a month in spousal support from Brittany Griner. They wasn't married but for about 6 months. All right. Now it says the two NBA players were married May 8th after being involved in a domestic violence incident because they're more violent than straight people.
That's right.
Because they have a mental defect. So they don't even know how to think themselves from the rip. So all they think is violently. It says at their Arizona home April 22nd, Johnson, who plays for the Tulsa Shock, announced June 4th that she would miss the WNBA season because she was pregnant. It says Brittany Griner wants her estranged wife to ante up medical records to prove whether all the kids are hers. This is two women. Two women got to go for child support. You can give me the next slide. That's how disgusting this place is. All right? It says the problem is that there is a vicious cycle between the media and the demographic being stereotyped. The more young women see African American ladies getting famous for hitting, for fighting, being sexual objects, it says the more they feel inclined to fit inside the same box as a Jezebel or angry black woman or a lesbian. Because that's what the media controls us so much that we won't wear certain clothes if some famous person didn't say it. We won't act a certain way if a famous person didn't say it. We won't carry our lives unless the famous. Once again, if you go from abortion, Jesse allowed people to do it because in '77, Jesse was against it. In '84, when Planned Parenthood paid him money, he said, I'm for it. Al Sharpton said, although I am a pastor, which I ain't never heard him preach yet, he said, although I am a pastor and I know it's wrong to murder, I cannot stand in the way of a woman's right to choose. That's the leadership that we have. Again, give me the next slide. It's just a couple more, and then I'll take some questions if I have it. Go ahead. This is the gospel church. I would not suffer y'all to see the real image of this cat. This gospel singer, Kevin Terry, was exposed in the gay sex scandal. I will not suffer y'all, but there was an actual video of him having sexual intercourse with another man. And there's images, but I wouldn't do that. I ain't that horrible of a person. No sweat. It says he was exposed in a sex tape scandal. It says Terry and an upcoming gospel artist who leads singing the group Kevin Terry and the Predestined was allegedly videotaped performing oral sex on another man. This is the epitome of the Christian church. The epitome of the Christian church is to push homosexuality through the roof. Through the roof. Give me the next slide. And your R&B, you had Frank Ocean came out the closet. As becoming the first R&B hip-hop star to openly admit he's a homosexual. Everybody else you got to figure out and wonder, like your Kanye, although Kanye, you know, if anybody know about the history recently, when they was talking about something in his butthole, he changed his mind on that. But usually they try to be quiet about it. But Frank Ocean is one of the first ones that came out with it. And in one of the references, he said he instead of she. And one of his first ballads, he also admitted that his first love was a boy to the same age. What you are going to see is straight homosexual song. There was a video, we didn't put it here, we didn't put that Young Thug one in here, right? There's a video where Young Thug walks into a room, and when he walks into a room, they show an image of a man on top of a woman. But they don't show it as a woman, they show it as a man on top of the woman in the video. For all the people that like that Young Thug or whatever he is. It says Lil B, who insists he's straight. Now this is a man that says he's straight. Decided to name his mixtape I'm Gay, but he's straight. No straight man would even put themselves in a position to say I'm gay. I would never say nothing like that. As a way to show support for the gay community and to stand against homophobia, telling MTV, I've never been attracted to a man in my life, but yes, I'm gay, I'm happy. It ain't never meant that. When you say I'm gay in this world, you're telling them that you like to have sex with men, or as a woman, you like to have sex with women. Give me the next slide. I'm going a little fast only because we're a little tight with the time. It says gay messages are built into school math lessons. I couldn't believe that. I didn't know what type of object they would actually put in there, but it says they're being put in math lessons for children as young as 4. Young children are being taught homosexuality in their math, their geography, their science, and English lessons all throughout history as if it's okay. They even have TV shows like cartoons where they teaching little kids that it's okay to be gay. So y'all got to start, give me the next slide, y'all have to make sure y'all start monitoring everything. Like, don't be that father where you just sit in the living room and you're like, hey, what's going on in there? Actually go and see, because you never know what they're putting on TV. Now, the leaders who accept homosexuality, Martin's right-hand man was a homosexual. What's his name again, Cot? I forgot his name. We'll get his name in a second. Bayard Rustin was an open homosexual. So that civil rights wasn't just about liberation for black people, it was also acceptance of gay people. That cat Frank Kameny that I brought out in the beginning, that's one of the first civil rights cases that was about accepting homosexuality in the 60s. Anybody know about Malachi York? He about under the ground. He pushes homosexuality too. Y'all knew that was coming. This is Angela Davis. So I never don't like that one. He always defend her. Angela Davis admitted in the 90s that she also was a lesbian. This is our leadership. That's right. Eddie Long, this is probably the young man that killed himself that nobody talks about. He molested it. This cat said that the Christian church is evolving into accepting homosexuality, period. You know why? Because they rather have the people in the church than to be about God. So whatever will get them in there, to get that money, it ain't just tithes. They need a building fund, pastor love offering, grandma love offering, 10th anniversary, the choir singing on Sunday anniversary, whatever anniversary, get that money in there. And this is your boy Farrakhan. Look at the white boy hugging him like they just got finished having sex. That's Farrakhan. Look at that white boy on top of him like that. Yeah, zoom that in. Yeah, no sweat. That's Farrakhan. This ain't Photoshop. This is a white man on top of Farrakhan. Yeah, give me the next slide. Give me the next slide. Please. Play this clip. Which one is this? That's Rock Newman.
The white boy that was on Farrakhan is Rock Newman. That makes it okay?
This is Obama, right? No sweat. Now this is Obama back in when he was first coming in. Play that, please.
Marriage is the union between a man and a woman. Now for me as a...
You see what he said? Yeah. He said marriage is between a union of a man and a woman. Give me the next slide. Or is it in the same video? Give me the next video. Play that.
In an ABC News interview, he became the first president ever to support gay marriage.
Pause it.
For me personally.
It ain't no accident that he got brown skin in doing that.
Right.
Because that's who they put on the forefront of every groundbreaking thing they do in America. They take the black man and put him on the forefront. They dress him in entertainment, they dress him in hip hop, they dress him in everything. And he's the first one to do it. It's not an accident. This is by design. That's why I say it's an attack on the black household. Even though he's not our brother. He's an African. We're not African. But black people don't look at it that way. They look at his skin tone and say, he's just like me. If he says it's okay, then it must be okay. Even if they call himself a Christian or Muslim or Methodist or anything like that, they follow whatever the leadership says. That's why the leadership has to go away. Play it.
It is important for me to go ahead and affirm that I think same-sex couples should be able to get married.
For gay rights.
You see how he flip-flop? You can go to the next slide. We don't need to hear him. But the reason why he flip-flop is because that's the agenda. Don't think he just flip-flop for the so-called white man. He flip-flop bigger than that. He flip-flop for the white man, but not just for office, but to allow each and every one of us to accept gay people. That's the agenda in this place. Because if we accept gay people now, when our son comes and he's a homosexual, we accept him. When our daughter comes, we accept her. Because that's what they're pushing in the media. Now here's a real leader. Play that for me, please.
When you allow men that are homosexual to be on the choir, to lead the choir. I watched a recent tape of a wonderful dance.
Now, when he bring up this tape, watch the tape that he brings up. Play it.
From your church, minister, where the dancers had red sheep.
Pay attention. All of these are women. Watch the middle. Now, all of the ones around here is all in the same clothing. All of them. The one in the middle is not. Play it.
I saw it on YouTube. And they were dancing. And the sisters were beautiful, man. And then I looked into the center.
See the center?
And in the center, I saw what was clearly a homosexual.
That's the agenda.
He threw his head back and waved his head and shook his behind. And I dropped my head in sadness.
You should run out of that Christian church. That Christian church is not of God in no form or fashion. Why would they put the homo in the center?
We don't understand what we're doing to black women when we do this. When we allow homosexuals to lead our choirs, to sit and prance in the midst of women, we are teaching them a lesson even though we don't realize it. And the lesson that we begin to teach them is that I don't have to respect a man.
That is the lesson that's being taught. If you allow that to be taught on the earth, black women would not respect black men at all because they'll see them as inferior. And that's by design. It's by and just like for the women that we don't respect, we'll treat them that way too. That's why, again, this attack is not just on black men. And it's not just on black women. It's on the entire black race. The white man ain't just trying to kill off one side. He wants to eradicate us all because he believes it'll be a better place. That's why abortion ain't targeted to either side. Abortion is something they try to push right away. They told my rib, don't even have the baby because she might be born with some side effects. My baby been born healthy since she been alive. But they've been pushing her to get that baby killed. Now, if I didn't have no knowledge or lived according to that, I'd be another statistic. But thank God for this life school UPK, I'm not. Give me the next slide. This is religion. Mega church leader and author T.D. Jakes says that homosexuals should attend congregations that affirm to their lifestyle. Meaning if this church don't accept you, this church will. When if you're supposed to be about the church, if I'm not mistaken, they all supposed to be reading the same book, right? So if you all reading the same book, I know Leviticus 20 and 13 say mankind ain't supposed to lie with mankind. So what's going to be different from one church to the other? That's to let you know that Christianity is all about serving Satan or serving the so-called white man. It says during an interview with the Huffington Post on Monday, Jakes was asked by a viewer if he believes that homosexuals and the black church can coexist. He said absolutely they can coexist. With that, it's about 4 o'clock. Anybody have any questions? I don't want to run over the time. If you have any questions, just please raise your hand. Go ahead.
How do you talk to a lesbian who basically did raise up men? He got himself a 5. I think my nephew's like 6 now. Like, how do you explain to them it's still evil to try to raise a child, even though they're staring at a statistic where you have a man who was raised by 2 homosexual women, but he did end up taking a rib and then having a seed with that? Well,
you have to teach them that it's first wrong from the rib. Like whether it's a lesbian or whether it's homosexual, it's not right. And just because you have some so-called, I guarantee you that's a lie that they're telling you that the person was raised up right. Because when you look at the real statistics, which we brought out earlier, them gay couples that raise up them gay kids, they become gay themselves. So you just show them the real history and tell them to come and get some counseling, and then they should be fine. Anybody else have any questions? Yeah, brother?
Of all the issues that are played in our community, why do you think they're putting this, the homosexual agenda, at the forefront? Pushing it on our community?
Because this is damn near the last one. Like when you look at abortion, that was almost first. Then you had the drug epidemic. Well, first I would say slavery, of course, and then the religions, then abortions, then drugs, and now you see homosexuality being like the last one as far as the total eradication of black people. And all of them really have existed since slavery. It's just that now in 2016, they're perfecting the method of how to use homosexuality, because there's always a sellout Negro that will actually push the agenda. So that's why. Anybody else?
What is the blueprint, to counter?
Yeah, that's the most important question. That should have been the first question.
And the reason why I asked this, because I was born and raised in Islam, and I saw the footage that you showed of Minister Farrakhan, and it is a backtrack, because so many people are feeling like they got to backtrack, what they really feel, in the heart of what they feel, because America, like you said, pushes it to the forefront.
Well, Luke 5:38, Christ said this. He said, "No man put new wine into old bottles." Also the verse, new wine must be put into new bottles. So the first thing you have to do is pour out every bit of information that you ever learned in your life, and then be able to receive the new information. In Israelite School UPK, you'll get trained right. We'll give you the blueprint. Zephaniah 2:1 says, "Gather yourselves together, O nation not desired." The most undesirable people on the face of the planet are black people. That's right. Because we spend our entire life trying to be somebody else. We spend our entire life trying to imitate white people, Arab people, African people, Asian people. We spend our whole life imitating everybody else because we don't want to face who we are. We don't want to face the atrocities that we have amongst ourselves. So you're going to have to do that as well. And then get our identity. With black folk, if you ask 12 black people who they are, you get 12 different answers, maybe 15, because somebody's going to say, well, I think I'm this or that, because we don't have that identity. So now we have to take back our very essence. Like, we basically got to start at kindergarten, so to speak. What I mean by kindergarten, that kindergarten don't know what to do. He has to be taught by a teacher. Hebrews 5:12 says, before you can teach, you must first be taught. That's why we have classes in Harlem at 2 West 115th Street. We got classes on our website, ishubk.com. We got classes everywhere in Philly, D.C., so that now we can start putting a strong black man in every black household, a strong black woman in every black household. That's where it starts. But don't be surprised that the Farrakhan, I came from a Christian background. So when I start seeing all the wickedness of Christianity, and really the saddest part about it is, we know it's wicked before we face it. You understand? Like, I knew my pastor was wicked before I faced that he was wicked. I just didn't want to face it until I came into the truth of my identity. That's what allowed me to fix it. All right? Sign up.
Yes, brother. First, I want to say, great lecture, brother. I enjoyed the lecture. I definitely agree with 95% of what you said here today. And 5% I don't agree with when you start talking about communities and blah, blah, blah. What I'm going to say is this, though, brother. What I'm going to say is, how can you have a no homo lecture and don't introduce this man to the audience? Irritated G. This man been teaching this for like damn near 10 to 8 years, brother. You can look on there and see the effeminization of the black man. That's all I want to say. So I think that would be a little error in your
That's not really the question. You asked me to recognize somebody. I didn't get to that portion yet. Anybody else got a question? Right there.
I seen the sign of the video. He was chasing some Masons off of the block.
Is it on the subject of no homo?
Yes.
Okay, no sweat.
Do you think that the Freemasons and their powers have something to do with this agenda?
Okay, I don't really. What's that, like Illuminati or whatever you're going to talk to me about?
No, I'm just saying.
Oh, okay, no sweat. Like, Masonry is nothing but secret sex. Like, that's the secret of Masons. Like, I have sex with this man and I don't tell nobody the secret. So yes, that Mason stuff is homosexual too. You shouldn't get in that. Maybe when we do another part to this, we'll bring the Masonic or Mason part of it as well. All right? You right there?
Yeah, I had a question. Like, when you said earlier, you brought up Francis Cress Welsing and stuff like that, and kick the white man in the ditch, so that we could be free of all this bad influence. Right. Do you really think? Because I see black people keep carrying a lot of negative stuff, even aside from the white man.
if you kicked the white man in the ditch and didn't follow him and didn't stay with him no more, you really think that black folks would kick that homo stuff? Because we watch that
Absolutely,
stuff on TV.
because you got to understand, the white man has had a 500-year influence on us. It's something that's inbred in us from the time we come out. That's why I brought up that woman, my mama, when my father wasn't around. She taught me to be effeminate because she was afraid. Why was she afraid? Because my father wasn't there. Why was my father wasn't there? Because of the drug epidemic. Who brought the drug epidemic there? The so-called white man. Right. Now imagine if he don't bring that drug epidemic. My father's in my life. You understand? So now my father would be able to teach me right from wrong, will be able to raise me in the proper fashion that I should raise. My mother wouldn't have to be in fear because my father's there to be the provider. So when you say, could we be fixed? Yeah, because the only reason we deal with all of these issues like that is because of the white man, because of the influence that he has had on us. He's perfected it.
That's right. Brother Tazaryach, being that you pointed out the power of the media and its influence on our people, and we live in this time where we have access to creating our own media, what would be the solution from the ISUPK standpoint to combat or counter the negative imagery and also the stereotypes and also what they're doing via media? Like, should we come together and create shows, movies? Should we proliferate social media with positive images and stories and things of that nature?
Well, we start with what we're doing right here. Like, this is like the third lecture I believe that ISUPK has done in New York City. Yeah. And so now what we do is we start there, which this is a media outlet. This is being broadcast online. We're filming, we'll put the information out, and then we gradually go from there. So that way, the same way they have a show like Empire to come out, now they have the ISUPK to actually listen to combat that and give you more of a truth. So you definitely want to use the media. It ain't the term, the reason why I'm talking about media is because the form that they're using. There's nothing wrong with the form, it's what's being shown. Because we're using media right now. You understand?
No, that's what I was just implying on. What do you do to
this right
actually
here.
Turn it up?
Right.
Because you got access to thousands upon thousands of people. Now you could do, original programming.
Right, exactly, which is what this kind of represents. Like when you see all the people here, they came because they were sick of what they're seeing on the normal media. So now when we do more, it grows, and then we'll do more.
No doubt. That's right.
All right, no sweat. Anybody else? Not?
Yeah, when you said they was putting homosexuality in the schools, what you mean by that?
Meaning they're teaching young black women and black men that it's okay if you're gay. Meaning if you have questions, if you come in there and you want to wear a dress, you can come to this school and wear that dress as a man. If you want to be manly and wear them construction boots, if you're a little girl, you can do that. That's what they're allowing in schools. They teach it as a part of class.
It's in Atlanta.
That's the school that I mentioned when I brought it up. In Atlanta right now, they have a school that caters to transgender, homosexual, and gay and lesbian, like that.
They got it in New York too. Yeah, I was just going to speak on that.
I think, matter of fact, I think they got it right on 125th and Morningside, I think, or maybe a block after Morningside. They have those schools as well.
In the public school, my son is in junior high school, and he came home and he said, "Oh, I was having a hard time because, everybody was coming at him because." In that curriculum, in the book that they were reading, it was talking about a boy kissing another boy, and automatically he was like, "Oh, this ain't right."
Right.
And then everybody came against him and was like, "Oh, you shouldn't be like that. You got to be tolerant."
That's how you know this is going to be a modern day Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah.
Right. And Sodom and Gomorrah, remember when them angels came in there? They wanted to know them right away. So much so that when Lot offered his two daughters, two regular women, they said, "No, we don't want them. We want the men." That's why when we brought out Revelations 11 and 8, this is this place that's spiritually Sodom and Gomorrah. That's why the only solution is that book. Like everybody runs from that book, but that book provides the moral compass, aka laws that will heal this nation. We want to get healed, we gotta have some law. That's why when I said earlier, when we talk about homosexuality, if I say I'm against homosexuality and I don't believe in the Bible, it's just my personal opinion. Because I ain't got no evidence to back that up. It's just something. I hate faggots, and that's why. But when they say, well, why? You ain't got nothing else behind your back.
Does the Bible
other than that
testify of the Quran? And do they not
say that one more time?
Does the Bible not testify of the Quran?
No, the Quran is trash. Like, if you want a good firewood, you get that Quran and put that in trash. Or a comic book. Anybody like comic book? I love comic books. You read the Quran. It's a great comic book. That's all the Quran will ever will be. But next time, just raise your hand before you speak, all right?
I did raise.
No. When I acknowledge you, it'd be better because I was talking to the other brother. That way it would be organized.
I'm not offended.
Thank you. No sweat. So now, that's what's going to happen and proliferate. So without the Bible, now when I say I'm against homosexuality, they say, well, why? Because the God that I serve wrote a law that will actually help us and said mankind shall not lie with mankind. Now where's your God at that says the same exact thing? And they don't have that. And everybody claims to be spiritual. Black people are the most spiritual people on the planet. That's why Romans 10:1 says they have a zeal for the Most High, but not according to knowledge. We all have an affinity to be a part of essence, if you want to call it essence, spiritual, power, authority, or whatever, but we're doing it ignorantly because we don't follow that book properly. I'll take one more question. Go ahead.
Yes, you mentioned Bernard Ruskin earlier. He was the main organizer of the March on Washington
That's correct.
in 1963.
That's
the
correct.
idea came from A. Philip Randolph, who was also gay.
Right.
Now you have Black Lives Matter.
Mhm.
2 of the founding members of Black Lives Matter are lesbians.
That's how you know Black Lives Matter is nonsense because they also have people on there that's for abortion. So when do Black Lives Matter? Do it matter when a cop is shooting us or when the woman is aborting a baby? Because 540,000 babies of black people are dying every year. So does Black Lives really matter to Black lives? Is the part that we want to, deal with. All right, so I'm gonna end it. Commander, you want to say anything, sir? All right, no sweat, sir. So with that, I'm gonna end it. I really thank y'all for coming out today, taking the time out to enjoy this lecture. We're gonna do more stuff like this. Please don't forget to support us. April 23rd, we're having the Lord's Passover be right upstairs. At this very building, April 23rd, we're having the Lord's Passover. Everybody is invited. I really appreciate y'all coming out. We're going to give one courtesy salute to Commander Jenny Hunter, Ben of Israel, Imadim Shabbat, Barak, Yahweh, Shem Yahshua, Rakatah, Dismissed.